All right, we'll give it a minute here as it goes live everywhere. So guys, thanks for joining there. We'll zoom in a little on our mug shots, Riley. So we're going live across Facebook, on Snowbike Nation, BRC Racing. We're going live on YouTube, so we're going to be having a bunch of people joining in here shortly. It always takes a few minutes just to get everybody on. So guys, as you're joining, please say hi. Let us know where you're from. And oh yeah, here we go. Now everybody's getting on. So let us know where you guys are from, and we'll get rolling. So you can just leave a comment, and then we'll be able to see the comments on our side. And keep those questions in mind. That's what we're here for, right? The Q&A. So, dude, my new camera looks freaking awesome. I look pretty sexy on here, I think, if I do say so myself. You do too, Riley.
You know, I've always been impressed with your photogenicness. In the woods, in your shop, like it's just why you're doing this is not a GP model. I don't know, but your wife is so lucky.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. I'm gonna be a snowbike model. Oh, we got Jared. I just talked to Jared pretty like last week. So Jared's a longtime fan of BRC, as we know.
Stoner, what's up?
Stoner, Jared up in AK. Dude, is it snowing there? It's snowing here in Montana. We're getting it.
We got our first snowfall yesterday, and everybody's surprised that this happened, and nobody's got winter tires on, and they're sliding everywhere. In fact, my wife just went to pick up my daughter because she's in the ditch.
People. Yeah, we've been ready for it. Who's this? Montana. We're out in Montana. Give us your guys' area so we know.
Got this another Montana.
Yeah, you can drink. I have my, I don't drink beer, so I've got, can you guys see? My Paps, it's NA, PBR NA. It's so good, dude. It's good.
Cheers.
So cheers. So hopefully you guys all have your drinks, whatever that is, beer, soda, water. Oh man, we got people from all over Kalispell. Someone from Kalispell, it doesn't say who. Awesome. Cochrane, where's that? Is that Canada?
That's Canadasia. It's 25 minutes, 30 minutes west of Calgary. Beautiful spot.
Got it. Good riding up there.
It's flat, but it's basically at the foothills of the Rockies. So it's essentially from our ski hills, it's less than an hour from world-class skiing in the Rocky Mountains. It'd be about 45 minutes from Banff. Banff, people tend to know where that is as a tourist destination in the Rocky Mountains. So, yep.
Got a whole shiz ton of freaking Canadians getting on here. Oh, who's this? This guy has a YZM. Hugh Brennan?
Yeah, Hugh, how are you?
The Yzilla?
Another one. You got to come up with
another one.
YZ names.
We need a Snowbike YZ name. All right, cool. We got freaking everybody's joining in on here. Why we got more people joining? Why don't we take this question, because it doesn't really have anything to do with the BRC 500, but our 600 update. Riley, you want to answer that now?
I'd love to. And so everybody knows what BRC does, I hope by now. If you don't know, the quick oversight is we make two-stroke engines for dirt bikes. And we started off with KTMs because I was riding one. And then we did the second generation of KTM when the bike changed in 2017. And then we're having such a good time with that, we thought, hey, no brainer to make a kit, or let's see if we can make a kit for the Yamaha YZ250, seeing as how it's got now 25 years of compatibility from 99 to 2024. And so as people are aware, we've released that engine recently this year. It's took us a long time. Our supply chain, I'm not going to lie, has been difficult. You can have 2 out of 3. You can never have all 3. And these guys were good at price, good at quality, could not hit a delivery date to save their life. So we're making some changes there. But anyways, what we did is I had the idea of making a two-stroke engine for street bikes, and the R600 is that idea. And
Because it's a 4-stroke?
the R6 Yamaha is a 4-stroke, inline 4, 600cc, really cool bike, really great chassis, component suspension, awesome. It's a diesel. I don't do diesels. 2-stroke guy. And so being a little bit gray in the hair, being a little bit gray in the hair, I remember back in the day, 1986, Suzuki had the RG500 Gamma, 4-cylinder, 2-stroke. Yamaha had their RZ or RD 500, depending on which country you were in. And I just think it's high time that we bring smokers back to the street. And so we are endeavoring to build a twin-cylinder, 600cc, very high level of performance. This is everything that we learned when we worked with the Aprilia Grand Prix. That was their pre-MotoGP 4-stroke era team, so the 2-stroke era, specifically the 125 and 250cc Grand Prix motorcycles. And we've been lucky enough to be in touch with the engineers that took that program forward for Aprilia and won them all the world championships. They take a lot of interest in what BRC does. So BRC doesn't do this in a vacuum or in a bubble with our own gray matter. We do, but we don't. We've used a lot of other people's input and expertise. We're constant students of 2-stroke technologies. And we're really looking forward to applying this to the street market and street bike market and bring a twin-cylinder MotoGP 2-stroke era level of engine to the masses. But it had to be shelved because we stuck the YZM in front of it. And then we came up with the good idea of let's make our own throttle bodies and turn TPI bikes into TBI bikes. And so that pushed the R600 back because I felt that was very important for our company to have our product line card, if you will, to have more items on there so that we don't hurt ourselves, because the R6 is a massive project, which both time and capital expense. The other thing that we stuck in and why the R600 has been delayed was we came out with balance shaft engine cases. We did the design work, and now the hard tooling is being built on the CR500 balance shaft engine, which, to me, the CR500 is what started this all for me. We didn't set out to build 500cc dirt bike engines. My buddy and I, whereas we're riding our KTM 300s and everybody was doing it, was building CR500 AF. So we're like, shoot, let's do this. I have an engineering company and machine shop and a lot of resources behind us. And so we did it. And it wasn't easy. And it was a 2-year build. And
when did you guys start that?
That we built that, and we built it by just how everybody else does it on the internet. You talk to the people that know, like Adam Miller of MRE, AJ Wagner, the original 500 AF. AJ Wagner was service Honda. They're the guys, and so you pick their brains and you get all the here's how you do it and here's how they do it, and Adam especially was just instrumental in helping us with that. And it's not easy to do. You're cutting and welding on the frame. You have to know all about aluminum welding and metallurgy and on and on and on. Anyways, we thought we knew something about how to build stuff and 2-strokes and that this was going to be simple. And after 2 years and tens of thousands of dollars building this bike, the day came to ride it. And, usually on our rides, you get 2 or 3 buddies to come out. Well, this ride, there's a dozen. Everybody wanted to see the CR500 AF go. And honestly, I rode the bike for 10 minutes. And I came off very, very frustrated. It was not what I was expecting. It was brutal. That was the one word to describe it. Everything was harsh. Of course, we picked the 01 CR250 chassis, which is uber rigid, which just exasperates the vibration that you feel as a rider. It was no good. The only thing after everybody rode it said is, man, we love the torque. Okay, cool. And so we get back to the trucks, as you will. pop a beer, and out comes a tape measure, and I start measuring up our KTM 300s, measuring up the CR 500 AF, and I'm like, I think there's room in the 300s for a 500cc power plant. And so I go to work on Monday, and I talk to my design
Just
engineer.
barely.
Yeah, it's just barely. But anyways, I go to work and I talk to my design engineer, Steve Buffle, and I said, here's my idea. And he's like, you're freaking nuts. And then he's like, I'm in. And anyway,
Sounds good.
So he's like, okay, let's do this. And so, Steve is a genius. I come up with harebrained ideas, and he's got the ability to extract them out of my gray matter and get them into CAD and make them work.
You're the mad scientist.
I'm the idea guy,
Yeah. I feel ya.
Anyway, so
I feel ya.
A year and a half later here we had our first Gen 1 KTMs. And
hold on. Let me pause, Riley. Let me pause. Let's pump the brakes. Let's just pump the brakes for 1 second, because I know everybody's just like jonesing to hear all this shit. I know. So guys, real quick, thanks again for joining. We got Riley Will, owner of BRC Racing. If you don't know Riley and his story, go listen to Jude. It's been 5 years since Riley and I first did a podcast. It was right when I started Snowbike Nation. So go listen to that one. You can get the whole backstory on Riley and BRC Racing and how he got into this. It's a really fun interview and a fun, just story of how Riley got to be where he is. So, but today, what we really want to talk about, and what everybody is here for, I know, is, they're wondering what's the deal with the BRC 500. We've been seeing it for years now. I mean, this was 5 years ago when we were talking about it. So we've been, people have been seeing it. What's it like as a dirt bike? What's it like as a snow bike? So we're going to get into that, my experience. We got Kevin as well, and he's going to jump in later, get Kevin's experience. And as well, guys, anybody on here that has a BRC 500, or if you have had a BRC 500, feel free to please post your comments on here. We can, pull that into the feed as well. If you guys have any questions at all for Riley or I during this entire process, just go ahead and leave them whenever you want, and I can flag them so that we can go back later and pull up those questions, and I'll insert them as it makes sense. So just want to say thanks again to everybody for joining. It's going to be a lot of fun. I have no idea how long we're going to be here. We're just going to roll with it until we're done talking, which with Riley and I, that could be a long time. So I'll try to make sure that we keep her flowing. But yeah, we got a lot of people on here. We got the OG snowbike guy, Alan Mangum, on here. So thanks, Alan, for joining. That's awesome. Riley and Alan have a pretty long history there too. So that's discussed more in the podcast that Riley and I did together. So yeah, man, I'm pumped, Riley. We've been talking about this for a long time. So Riley was kind of just giving some of the backstory on the R600, which I didn't even know what that. I'm not a street rider at all, so I know literally nothing about street bikes. But Riley is a plethora of, he's got a lot going on in his brain. There's a lot of data in there that I like to extrapolate and and go down these rabbit holes. And I'm like, well, just tell me what I need to do. That's all I really need to know, Riley. Tell me how to turn it on and go. Like, I just want to go fast. I love the mechanics of all this stuff. It's so fascinating, but my brain is more, it just doesn't like get into the weeds. I'm like, I just want to go ride and go fast and jump shit and just rip. Like that's my jam. So I appreciate guys like you, Riley, and my mechanic up here. He's funny. He's just like, I like riding, but I'd honestly just rather work on these bikes. I'm like, well, I'm glad you would, because I don't want to. Yeah. So I think it's cool that you have that mind, the engineering mind, and then of course you're a rider as well. I mean, you've been riding, like, when did you start riding dirt bikes? Like, how old were you?
3.
3?
I had an Indian 50 when I was 3. I took it apart when I was 6, and it was the first engine that I assembled. It was back running when I was 8 and a half.
Wait, so you took the motor apart?
The whole
Like,
bike apart.
what? Like, nobody had showed you this. You're just like, I want to just take this bike apart like Legos.
Okay, so my dad took me
Here we
to a
go.
flat track race in Cochrane, Alberta, which we see Andrew Pullman
Yeah,
is
someone's.
on here from, and it was the coolest thing I ever saw. You know, these bikes hauling ass, ripping, and 2-strokes and 4-strokes and big Harleys and stuff. But they had two things. There's two things with their bikes that my Indian 50 didn't need or wasn't like that, and I was going to fix that. And so the bikes didn't have any front brakes, and so I wanted to get rid of my front brake. So I figured I just have to take the bike apart.
On the flat track?
Yeah, on the flat trackers, there's no front brakes. Anyways, and then they all had these cool lowboy exhausts, and so I wanted to make a lowboy exhaust for my Indian 50 because I wanted to make that a flat tracker and go flat tracking. And my dad, being who he was, absolutely the best mentor, teacher. He never said no to me when I just wanted to turn wrenches and find out, even though he knew that most 99 times out of 100 is like, this ain't going to work out because my dad's
it's not going to go well.
My dad is an engineer and did a lot of awesome things in his life. So he knew better, but he let me try and fail. And so that was the first bike that started it all and started my brain, I guess, thinking about engines and how they work. And, I still didn't know nothing by the time I put it together.
Yeah.
I learned how to use a socket set, and so, yes, I've been a lifetime rider. Wanted to get into motocross in the worst way. Wasn't allowed to, went BMX racing.
Why weren't you allowed to? Like, mom?
My mom is a nurse, and my cousin, though, was a motocrosser and had a really bad accident where he got burned and shredded by a knobby tire and full recovery and what. But anyways, so no, you're not doing it on two wheels. So went BMX racing. My father and my brother got into karting. I thought karting was goofy because it had 4 wheels and not 2. 2 wheels are cooler. After one BMX practice night, I got taken to the kart track.
By the way, for everybody who doesn't know, because I remember I had to dig into this with Riley, go just look up karting, and you can see how insane these aren't like your backyard go-kart. These you guys are hauling ass. These are powerful 2-stroke motors. You guys are getting after it.
Yeah, 4 Gs in the turns. It's where all your drivers of NASCAR and Formula One and IndyCar have all come out of karting. And most of them still practice with it today. Karts are insane. Anyways, so got into karting, tried it, and all of a sudden found that it wasn't silly. It was really neat, and totally forgot about BMXing, and then went down that path, which then led us into more 2-stroke engines, more learning about 2-strokes, modifying them lots to make them slower and unreliable. Did a lot of that. Thinking that I knew how to make an exhaust pipe better than the factories did, and learned that I could change the power, but the factories did a really good job to begin with, but just always learning. And, thankfully got ourselves into a position, like I was talking about the CR500 engine or CR500 AF build, that finally we'd done some other engines for karting, but karting is very niche. And for me to stay involved with 2-strokes and 2-stroke technology, I had to do something more mainstream. And it was kind of funny because it was sitting there looking at me in the face for decades, dirt bikes. And anyway, so we built that Honda AF. It sucked, but that was the impetus to do something with the current technology of KTM, electric start and 6-speed trannies and power valves and all that goodness. And so here we are today. We're a small business now, but building these 500cc engine kits is all we do. And I feel very grateful and blessed that my life's path has gone this way for me, because it has been my life. The 2-strokes have, whether I'm good at it or not. It's been my passion. It is my passion. eat, sleep, and breathe it. And I feel very fortunate that we have gained some traction, momentum, that we're able to share it with other people, and that my ideas and our team of executing those ideas is being well received. And
Yeah,
very
I'd say
grateful.
so.
I'm very grateful for that.
I
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, dude, I mean, it's like we're all here because we're passionate about dirt bikes, motorcycles, snow bikes, all of the above. And it's awesome to see a guy like yourself that has been in this game for so long, doing some things that, I mean, you're the first person to create a 500 two-stroke motor for a KTM platform. Like, I mean, that's something that, when you die and on your grave, I mean, that's a pretty badass, cool, little stamp there. And I mean, aside from everything else, Riley and I mean, yeah, it's funny that it's been 5 years, but you're an awesome guy. You're passionate about this. You're always willing to help and talk and just dig into things. And I really appreciate that. And I think that's one of the amazing things about this community as a whole. Snow biking, it's dirt biking, and then snow biking is like, we're just this little teeny, niche within it. And everybody is just really, really awesome in this. And I appreciate, Riley, all that you're doing, and the fact that you are continuing to innovate and just push the envelope with this, because that's what you want, right? Like, you want to ride a badass two-stroke dirt bike. You're not just in this like, let me just make some money selling bikes and or these motors. You're like, well, what puts a smile on my face? And then you want to share that with others. And I can get that. That's how about snow bikes. So I can fully appreciate that, man.
Snowbikes make smiles, and dirt bikes make smiles, and yeah, it's just that's why we do it. Let's be happy and make some smiles and make some great memories and some good times. That's the how and the why. That's right there. Just making smiles.
100%. So someone just said, or not, that wasn't the question, but I will show that as well. So this question, he asked, is this 500 primarily for a retrofit setup? So if you guys are not aware, okay, and I'll just throw this up here on the interview. So go to brcracing.ca and you'll be able to go to the product lineup and look and see what Riley has done here. So today specifically, we're going to be talking about the 500 two-stroke motor, which you can put in a modern day, KTM 300 chassis, all the way from a 2007, right? They have two different models, all the way up to, modern day one, the 22 model. And that's what I have, right? I've got the BRC 500 motor, which is behind me here. Let me take this off. So I have it in this gas EC300 here. Let me go big for a sec. There we go. So that is in a 2022 gas EC300 two-stroke, and that contains the BRC 500 motor that Riley makes. So anybody that has a 300, you can throw one of these motors in there, and it's an absolute beast. And we're going to talk about the nuances of it, because there are some nuances to the motor in general, but more than anything, how you ride the bike. And we're just going to get into a lot of that stuff. So yeah, stay tuned as we do that, guys. There's a couple other cool comments on here that people made. So Donnie Ellis says, absolutely love my BRC, best snow bike out there. Riley and his crew have got them dialed. So thanks, Donnie. It's always fun hearing from other guys out there that are riding. Here's another guy, Jeff Hastings. He says, Riley's responded to me on Sunday for tech questions. Stand up, dude. So yeah, that's what you get. It's just like working with, Alan Mangum from Mountaintop, Mark Hoffman from CMX, JP Stanek from Mototrax. It's like when you're working with these smaller companies, they take so much pride in what they're doing that they're willing to, hey, yeah, I'll help you out. It's a Sunday, you're out ripping. What's going on? Let me help you dial it in. So that's what I think is cool about working, with guys like yourself, Riley, along with a whole lot more. Here was We're going to save Andrew Pullman. He has a really good comment. We're going to save that though, Andrew. Curtis says, is there some real world side-by-side comparison of a 450 versus the 500? Stay tuned. I will give you some insight on that because behind me, I don't know if you guys can see, there's a fleet of bikes back there. So I have, just so you guys are aware, Snowbike Nation, I do tours up here in Kalispell, Montana. Last year we had 12 Snowbikes in our fleet. We're going to have 12 again this year. And we have every major kit, every brand of kit we're running. We've got a plethora of bikes. I'm a two-stroke fan. I prefer the two-stroke platform. We'll get into that. But I have 450s, and right behind that bike is 3 brand new Husqvarna 2023 450s, the FC. So that's the motocross 450 bike. So we're going to be running those. And, some people prefer the 450s, and that's okay. If you like wet fart noises, you're totally good. No, I'm just kidding. I like them both, and I like them both for different reasons. But if I have to pick one bike, I'm picking a two-stroke. So that's just, my personal preference. So we'll get into that though, but that's a great question, Curtis. So let's segue into Riley, BRC 500 two-stroke. You were getting into when you created this, right? So walk us through real quick, just the genesis. So you take your measurements and you're like, I think we can make a 500 two-stroke for the KTM platform. And why that route instead of the Honda and improving on it? Was it because, hey, we got all this new tech on a bike, let's put a motor in it and make it better?
Well, quite frankly, the architecture of the KTM bikes, and of course our kits for either your KTM 250 or 300, because they share the same architecture. You're talking about a different bore size between 250 and 300. So the kits fit both those. But KTM was the only manufacturer that was doing a case reed induction. And so I wanted to stay with that. So, we looked at the Honda and like, oh, okay.
What is that? What is that? Would you say case reed induction?
Yeah. So if you look at your YZ250, for example, the reed cage is actually the area the reed cage inserts into on the engine is actually a part of the cylinder. Whereas if you look at your KTM 250 and 300s, the reed cage inserts into an area that's part of the crankcase. So that's the difference between cylinder reed and crankcase reed. Crankcase.
What does that mean, real world? Like real world, what does that equate to?
Typically, like when MotoGP was two-stroke era, the reed valve engines were all crankcase reeds. It's better for power and performance. To make performance with a cylinder reed engine, you really have to open up the intake because you got everything in the intake in the way after the reed valves. You got your cylinder and your piston, and you're trying to get your incoming mix into your crankcase and transfer port. So it's really windowed. It's really Swiss cheesed, which means those are all obstacles for your incoming fluid that have to avoid, and you're going to lose incoming mix energy flow. So with the crankcase reed is you don't have those impedances. Basically, you've got to get through the reed cage itself, and then from there you're into the crankcase area under the piston and going up your transfer ports. So that's where the CR500 being a cylinder reed, I'm like, it's kind of 80s technology. So we wanted to go and it's a balancing act too. It's parts availability. Obviously, it's doing something with a current model year of motorcycle. You have lots of availability for years to come, especially when our kits do reuse a lot of the internals, being like transmission, clutch, water pump, etc. So those parts will be available for a long time, which is very important for longevity, for not just us as a company, but for our customers to have good experiences. So that was the decision why we started with the KTM platform. And then when we went to the Yamaha platform, one of the concerns was, can we build this engine now that will be a crankcase reed, and the carburetor will still line up to the stock OEM airbox boot? because that's one of the things when you build a CR500 AF and you use a 450 chassis, is you're trying to adapt where your air boot is going to attach to your carburetor. And if you move that,
so guys are building the 500, the Honda CR500 on a Honda 450 platform.
They use any aluminum frame out there, but generally, like Honda, I think the last 250 was what, 06? Last 125 was 08, 09 maybe. I can't remember 100%. But, so, and of course the Gen 5 Honda frame is a really good chassis compared to a Gen 1 aluminum frame. They engineered flex into it and whatnot. So if you're going to go through the effort, you're going to want to go with the latest technology of chassis you can, which is all 4-stroke derived technology. And guys do it, and they do an amazing job. Again, AJ Wagner was the grandfather of all that. And AJ is still doing it under the business of Built 500. Definitely worth a follow. He's doing some amazing things.
What was his name?
AJ Wagner.
And what's the name of the company?
Built 500.
Okay. And that's specifically all Honda CR 500 stuff.
I believe so, yes. And he's basically resurrected when Service Honda went away, when his company went away. He's reinvented it as Built 500. So
got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know.
Anyways, there's just better technology out there, and so KTM was kind of the leaders of the 2-stroke dirt bike technology from call it the end of the Japanese era of 2-strokes, so 08, 09 through to now.
And what was the other one, Riley? I just was talking to a guy that rode is it the Yamaha, is it the 490 that was a 2-stroke?
Oh, sure. All the Japanese manufacturers back in the day had what they called open class bikes, the Yamaha 465, the Yamaha 490, RM 465, RM 500, which is a unicorn of a bike. Obviously, KX 500, CR 500. So all the manufacturers had the big boards, but it was sometime in the mid to late 90s where I believe it was the FIM decided no more open class. And I've heard a story that the YZ250
in racing, for racing.
Yeah, for sanctioned global world championship events.
Why did they not want this open class?
I think because the open class bikes didn't really, the performance on track doesn't necessarily translate to a plethora of sales. And an open class bike on a motocross track, especially how violent those bikes were back in the day, is not.
Yeah, guys were saying they called them like the Widowmakers.
Oh yeah, it's still. I think I saw a Craigslist ad that comes up every year in my feed, and I still laugh. If you haven't seen the CR500 Craigslist ad, search it up. It is worth a laugh and a read. But anyway, so they just kind of went away. The green trend, and basically painted, especially in California, painted 2-strokes with a very ugly brush. And so we're just going to get rid of 2-strokes. I'm grateful that KTM and other manufacturers like TM did not, and they said, oh great, well, we don't have to compete with Honda and Yamaha and Kawasaki and Suzuki anymore, so we're just going to pick up this ball and run with it. And look what KTM has done. They have absolutely flourished as a company, and in large part due to never leaving 2-strokes. They developed their 4-stroke equipment, which back in the early 2000s, you did not want to be on one of those. But look at what they are today. Like they've done something really tremendous as a company. And I think they too did that purely out of passion for motorsports, passion for motorcycles.
Hey Riley, hold that thought. I want to pull this up, guys, for those of you who hadn't seen this. I've never heard of this, right?
That's
the one. I had
never
seen this. Okay, so I'm going to read it for anybody who's listening to this, in the future here on the podcast. So this is the, and for, hopefully you guys can all see it there. Badass Honda 2000 CR500, fast as fuck. 2,800 bucks. Not for kids or we'll say wussies. You breathe on the throttle and the front wheel is up and dropping panties. Go ask your mom, she'll tell you. Suggest you wear a helmet so you don't end up like Superman. If you kick it, better wear a MX riding boot or you'll break that twig you call a leg. Yes, it's a two-stroke, so you'll be mixing gas and slapping ass all day. Ever wanted... Sorry. Ever wonder what it's like to be Michael J. Fox? Well, look no further. This thing is going to shake your arms off. Low in testosterone because your wife stole your dignity and sense of being a man again. Well, this is your opportunity to go back in her purse and get your balls back. Now you should never have given up in the first place. These bikes aren't made anymore just like women that cook and clean. So just like those women, this beast needs to be chained up every night. Oh my gosh, it's terrible.
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh, that's pretty funny. I've never heard of that. That's great. So just look up Honda CR500 Craigslist ad, guys, and you'll find it. All right, I just had to interrupt that, and that's pretty epic there. Yeah, that's great. All right, thanks for sharing, dude.
So yeah, CR500s, they're legendary. Awesome bike, you know.
So, and guys, if you're listening and you have a Honda CR500, chime in and ask, you know, and just post like how it is, you know, what do you think of it? Because I think it's important to understand. I have never ridden a Honda CR500, so I have nothing to compare it to. I've talked to people that have ridden the CR500. In fact, we were just down in Pipestone, Montana riding, and I did a testimonial review at the end with a guy. I was like, dude, ride my BRC. And he had ridden a CR500 before, and he was just absolutely floored. So, like, if you guys have, you know, experience on that, chime in. So here's something. I'm going to read this real quick. David Spook Wolf says, big bore, 2 strokes forever, thanks to Riley. I have engine number 16, wow. Out of original batch, has almost 250 hours on it. Only thing done to it is updated the cylinder. I've rode big bores of all kinds, still have a KTM 550, CRF 500 AF, the one we're talking about, and a KX 500, but my 13 KTM 300 XC BRC Equip is my favorite and go-to bike. I ride it hard enduro to dual sport, and it's so smooth and rideable, but still has the 500 grunt we all love. Thanks, BRC Racing. So there's, you know, a guy that has, sounds like quite a few bikes, and that's David's comment. I want to real quick, Riley, before we get into more technical stuff, because I know we can geek out on that. But I want to real quick, because I know not everybody's going to be able to stay for this whole thing. So I wanted to get in the very beginning. I wanted to tell you guys my thoughts on this, and then we're going to bring in Kevin and get Kevin's thoughts, right? So, you know, I've been working with Riley for the last year on this bike. Got it, you know, I think we got it in February by the time we were done with everything of last year. It was it was a very new, what did you say? It was like the 3rd one that we were working on these tunes and stuff. So we were tuning it, and I knew, like, you know, hey, yep, let's get this thing dialed and tweaked. I've got the TBI. It's got the newest GET ECU with the newest mapping. It's your motor with the 3-blade valve, right? Yep, 3-blade valve. So basically, it's the newest generation, all the bells and whistles, badass. So I get it on snow last year, right? And I mean, it was just, well, first of all, it was like, the only way I could really explain it was like a rubber band, or just like a rocket ship. It had this like just low end grunt. It felt very similar to my 300, just more of it. But then as soon as the power valve kicked in, I mean, it literally could just take off. And the setup I had was the rail kit. And if you guys haven't ridden the rail kit, that thing is just a wheelie monster. And so I had to dial that kit down so much, because that front end, all it wanted to do is just stand up, which is really fun, but it can be very exhausting after a little bit. So we played around with it last year, finally got it dialed in. And my experience was, one, coming from riding 300 2-strokes, and 450s. I started out on a 450 Snowbike, a 2016 KX 450 with a Mountain Horse 120. So I learned really quickly to ride very aggressively in order to get everywhere. And I liked that feel. I like to ride aggressive, you know, snowbiking and dirt biking. So when I transitioned to riding 300s as a snowbike, for me, I liked the fact that I had to ride it and I had to like work for it. I couldn't be lazy. Like I couldn't be a lazy rider. And I don't mean that you're lazy if you ride a 450, though you may be lazy and that's fine. If you're a lazy rider, there's like, you know, it's all good. I know guys that just want to sit on their bike and point it up the hill and go, and they don't want to get up on the pegs and clutch and rev and do anything crazy. They just want to point it and go. And that's fine, dude. That's the great thing about this sport is, you know, however you want to ride, there's a bike and a kit that fits your style. And so for me, when I started riding the 300 two-strokes on the snow, it was like, oh, this is fun, and I love it, and I really do, especially in the trees, man. Those 300s, just like riding enduro, they shine. I mean, they're just so light and nimble, and you're just zipping around the trees. Like, give me a 300 two-stroke, you know, or two-stroke all day long in the trees over a 450. And I've ridden all the 450s. I've got some badass modded, super, you know, high-end, like really powerful 450s, and they're awesome. But they don't have that light, nimble feel that the two-stroke has. And for those of you guys who don't know, the reason why, because a lot of people think, well, two-strokes are just lighter. Well, yes and no. And Riley, correct me if I'm wrong in this, but the two-strokes guys, the reason why they dominate for enduro riding and riding technical single track is because you have one piston moving. Okay, so you have less rotational, you know, mass, less inertia in the motor than you do with the four-stroke, where you got your piston, your valves, your chain, you know, timing chain. There's so much going on in a four-stroke that it resists oppositional changes more on a four-stroke, any four-stroke, right? Am I saying this right, Riley, or am I off?
You're off.
Okay. Okay, well, I'm not going to say anything else. Riley can correct us. So walk through why the two-stroke is more light and nimble. And some of this is coming just from my like gyroscopic, you know, inertia from helicopter. So walk us through it, Riley.
As you guys have gathered, I usually got a lot of words to say, but you know, Kyle he was using way too many words there. The four strokes have higher center of mass. Okay, due to its valve train. So that's what I think Kyle is trying to say. The valve train is obviously up high. It's a higher center of mass. The two strokes have a lower center of mass. And so that's what you're feeling in the difference in handling between a two-stroke and a four-stroke. Is just where the mass is in the engine. They both have massive crankshafts whizzing around and what have you. The four-stroke does have the added gyroscopic of the camshafts and whatnot, which will be a bit small, but it's where the mass of the engine is. And so that's just the architecture of a four-stroke. It's going to be a higher center of mass. That's the difference there.
So the main reason is the higher center of mass, but there is something to be said about how much is moving in it versus a two-stroke, right? Or no?
Not in terms of handling. I don't think that would be. But then again, I don't profess to be an expert of anything, just a student of all. So other people that are smarter than me can chime in, because you got the forward rotation of the crankshaft, you got the reverse rotation of your clutch basket. Well, that's the same between a four-stroke and a two-stroke. So the only real difference of the two-stroke and four-stroke is the valve train of the four-stroke being up high in the chassis. So that you are feeling that mass, you're feeling that gyroscopic up in that region. It's just a different feel. It's not wrong. And it's just I guess totally. If I can to transition to this, is a lot of people expect me to say BRC 500 or nothing. You're not on a BRC 500, what you're riding sucks. I totally don't. That's not, no. It's about making smiles, as we touched on that earlier. It's about what fits you. Any two-stroke that you get on, especially as a snow bike, you have to work for it. It's not for a lazy ride. You're going to have to work for it. Whether you're on a 250, a 300, or a BRC 500, you still have to work for it. And that's okay because you're a two-stroke rider and that's what you know and that's what you like. But if you're a four-stroke guy that's gotten really used to just rolling into that throttle and the bike responding how you need and want it to, you can't ride any two-stroke, including a BRC 500 that way. But what we kind of say is if you ride a two-stroke or 500 or anything other brand, if you ride it like you stole it, meaning or ride it like it's an 85, is you can ride it a gear higher, you get into that clutch and you wind her up, the rubber band up, and you dump that clutch and it rewards you with acceleration that I personally have not felt on really well-built 450s and 500s. I'm not saying the 450s and 500s are not capable. They're amazing bikes, absolutely amazing bikes. And like with anything, there's trade-offs, there's pluses and minuses. Let's be real here about it. Is the BRC the best mousetrap? No, it's just another mousetrap. It does work really well when ridden how it should be ridden as a two-stroke, as all two-strokes need to be ridden. And for me, a two-stroke rider, it puts a bigger smile on my face. My customers, and I'm so grateful for the guys that are chiming in here right now, is, that's what they're saying too. It makes them happy. It's their bike of choice out of their stable. Our demographic is 40 to 65-year-old guys that have a problem, and their problem is motorcycles, and they can't keep themselves from having one of everything, which is so cool. I'm no different. And I own a few four-strokes, I will admit to that. But anyways, it's about making those smiles, and if you're 450 doing it for you, rock on. If you want more rip, and my buddies that have been snowbiking since about 2010, 2012, they're the ones that got me into it. And, they've been with me every step of the way of all of our developments. And one of the highest levels of praise I got from my buddy when he rode it was because he had ridden it as a dirt bike. And he was impressed with it as a dirt bike. And he's like, well, how's this going to be as a snow bike? And then he rode it as a snow bike, our new engine. Well, how's this going to be as a dirt bike? And his comment was, he says, he has a 501 and, treats him really well. And he goes anywhere. He's an incredible rider. He goes, my 501, I go anywhere I want. But it kind of just drones there. And I wouldn't have known the difference had I not gotten on your BRC 500. I said, what do you mean? He says, your BRC 500, when I ride it like I ride my KTM 300 two-stroke as a dirt bike, so he's a two-stroke rider in that genre, when I ride it the same way, is it absolutely accelerates everywhere. He goes, when my four-stroke is droning, the BRC 500 snow bike was accelerating. And he goes, that's exhilarating. That's fun.
Yeah.
There it is in a nutshell. It's not the be-all.
That's that rubber band effect. And to your point, that's what I tell people. They're like, oh, well, is that the best snow bike? Or it's just like the kit. Is this the best snow bike kit? Is that the best bike? I'm like, dude, it all comes down to rider preference, rider ability, condition. Like there's so many variables. But I tell guys, I'm like, dude, if you're a dirt biker and you ride two strokes and you ride enduro and that's your jam, I'm like, you will absolutely love a BRC 500 because it's everything the 300 does plus far, far more. And so you just ride it the same way. It takes obviously a little bit of like getting used to it, just like any biker, out there. But the reality is that it just puts a really big smile on your face. So when I've taken, I don't even know, hundreds of people on tours at this point, and I've taken people from the brand new person that has barely ridden a motorcycle and some that have never ridden a motorcycle up to, top A level riders that are very, very good motocross dirt bikers, far better than I am. And I've seen the gamut, and every single time, I mean, this is just my own, what I have seen, guys that are like street riders that don't ride dirt bikes, or guys that they snow bike, but they don't ride dirt bikes. They just snow bike, right? Like they're like, yeah, I don't really dirt bike. Yeah, maybe I'll get on a dirt bike and ride on dirt roads, whatever. they prefer the 4-stroke, the 450 power, that linear, just twist the throttle and go. I call it the easy button. It's like, dude, just get on that and go. You don't have to really think about it. You can be in the wrong gear, just go. But if guys are 2-stroke riders, you put them on any of these 2-strokes as a snow bike, every time they ride that, then they ride the 450 and they're like, yeah, I like the 300 better. Even though it doesn't have, or, you know, even though it doesn't have that same power, it's that feel. And then the 500 is it's just a whole different animal. So last year we didn't do tours on the 500 2-stroke. This year we're going to do it, guys, because it's dialed in, it's ready to go. We, you know, worked with Riley last year on all the kinks and just got her dialed. So this year it's going to be available. We're going to be doing tours on it. I'm excited to get guys up here that are snow bikers, because I take a lot of guys that aren't necessarily snow bikers. So if you're a snow biker and you've been wondering about this, then hit us up and you'll be able to come out here, you know, get 3-4 guys. You can come up, test out the BRC 500, test out a brand new Husky 450 motocross bike, you know, test out my 23 KTM 450 XCFW. You can test a gamut of bikes out. Now, of course, there's nuances in kits, and we'll have some of the same kits on those bikes. But it's, at the end of the day, you got to experience it for yourself, man. I mean, that's where it comes into play. So that's what I tell guys. So, and I want to bring Kevin on here in just a minute, but I just want to segue into the dirt bike scene. So now, guys, I've been riding it this season as a dirt bike, okay? A lot of people think, holy shit, a freaking 500 2-stroke. Now, I will tell you this. Anywhere we go at the trailhead, when I start that thing up, people are like, what is this bike? And everybody comes over, right? And they all want to see this thing. And then you tell them, yeah, it's a freaking, you know, 500 2-stroke. And they're like, oh, that bike's going to be too much for the trail. I was like, well, it's not a Honda CR 500. So with the transmission that I'm running, the EC300, which is the KTM XCFW, you know, transmission, it's that wide ratio transmission. I'm running that transmission, and then a 52 sprocket. Stock is a 52 sprocket. So the first time I rode the bike, I had a 52 sprocket, and I was like, oh, it wasn't quite hitting for me the same way as the 300. So it was like I was having to ride in first and second more, versus on the 300, I'm riding in second and third a lot more. So I call up Riley after. He's like, well, yeah, dummy, you're supposed to change your sprocket, right? I was like, well, I didn't know that, you know? So I changed it to a 52 sprocket. And then I went and rode it. I was like, okay, this is it. This is what I was waiting for. And everything I was riding, if I was in second gear on my 300, and I actually like to ride in third a lot and just slip the clutch and really work the clutch on my 300. But on the BRC, I could literally just leave it in third almost, and it just chugged. I mean, I was like, it's gonna die. And it's just, I don't know, the rotational mass, I don't know what it is. I want you to explain it, Riley, but it just chugs through everything. And so you're just climbing a hill, and it's just grunting up that hill. But then when you want to crack that throttle open and you hit that power valve, like, you better freaking, like, you remember the scene in Jurassic Park where Samuel L. Jackson, he's about to restart the computer system, and he says, hold on to your butts. That's what I think of every time I twist the throttle. I was like, oh shit, hold on. And there's been a couple times I've like ran off the trail because I just get so, like, it's so much fun to just go fast. So I was like, okay, I need to slow down. So Riley, why is it that it just grunts through stuff so much better in third gear, besides it obviously being a bigger motor, than your 300 2-stroke?
You nailed it. You absolutely nailed that one. Okay. Yes, it has everything to do with the bigger crankshaft. Our CR500 crankshaft or a BRC 500 crankshaft makes a 250 or 300 crankshaft look like a mini bike. So you have all that stored energy in that crankshaft that helps you in technical climbs. You've always been able to lug an open class 2-stroke really low in the RPM band. And you guys can probably recognize, because you've probably been on mini bikes as an adult, and it's kind of easy to stall this. You know, the bigger the bike you get, the harder it is to stall it. And so, you know, our design and any 500cc design will have a similar size of crankshaft, which is, it's big, it's heavy, it's got a lot of gyro and rotational. So
how much bigger is it than a 300?
Well, okay,
like weight wise.
so your 300 is a KTM 300 is a 72 millimeter stroke. The BRC 500 KTM engines are an 82 millimeter stroke. So 10 millimeters larger in stroke. So if you think about your crankshaft, the center of your crankshaft being the axles, you think about your crank pin where your rod's hanging onto. So yours is at a radius of 36 millimeters. 36 times 2 is 72. All right. The BRC 500 is at a radius of, so what are we at? 82, so 41 millimeters. So you have what's that, 5 millimeter difference? Doesn't seem like a bunch, but it's massive, because if you understand, physics is, when you have and think of a bicycle wheel, if you got a 10-speed bicycle, really big diameter wheel, and you spin it in between your hands, and you rotate the wheel side to side, there's a lot of gyro effect, right? That's just stored energy trying to stay focused in the same plane, same direction that it's in. It takes force to move it. So then you take a little 10-inch diameter wheel and you do the same thing. Well, you can do whatever you want with that. There's no resistance fighting you. Okay. So this is the same thing with the stored energy in a larger diameter crankshaft. And this is why when you lug the bike to a low RPM, it still has a lot of energy in there. And it does two things for you. That energy chugs you over that log on your climb, or that rock on your climb, is one thing that stored energy is doing for you. But because you're able to ride the bike at a lower RPM, those power pulses are coming less frequently. Okay. So less frequently to your knobby, less frequently to the knobby that's gripping that loose ground, rock, root, soil. And it's giving it more time to mold to the irregularities of your surface and propel you forward. Where you're on a 125 riding out in the woods and you're just caning that thing, and you can ride it that way, but you are lighting up the tire everywhere. Okay. Whereas the 500, if you use it as intended and lug it and work that traction and work that stored energy in the crankshaft, you don't have to shift gears as often. And you get up technical climbs that you're like, wow, that was easy, And I'll also say that, and you touched on the power valve, the engine, when the power valve does open, which it opens around 5,500 RPM, and most of my woods riding, I would say 90% of my woods riding, 95 of it, is the power valve never opens. And it's a real tractor, and I'm getting traction. It's a traction, I'm getting traction. And I'm not wearing myself out physically. So it's totally different than a 500 of the 80s and 90s that were ours will stretch your arm. That power valve opens, you better be in an open area, because you are going to start moving real fast. Just quote Spaceballs, you're going to start going ludicrous speed. All right.
So I was going to show why you were talking about this, Riley. This is the perfect example. So guys, this is last week, or this is Saturday, and I've done this hill climb on my 300, and it's freaking gnarly, right? Like, it's pretty steep, and of course, the camera never does it justice. So I wanted to go into this thing as slow as possible right here, and so I'm just trying to maintain a little bit of speed, but I wanted to go slow. And talking about the lugability is like, you can see I'm spinning out. But dude, I never lost traction. Now right here, I kind of slowed down a little bit, but it was literally effortless going. Like, I couldn't believe it. I got to the top and I just laughed. I was like, well, that was easy. Like, what the hell? That was too easy. So, all those factors that you're talking about, like real world example, man, it's the wildest thing, when you go up a hill climb on the 300, man. It's like, if you slip a little, if you're not, on it just right, the mistakes, if you make a small mistake, it's exacerbated, versus I feel like if you make a mistake on the 500, it just kind of chugs through it. That's the way I guess I would describe it.
And I want to kind of point out, and can the viewers see the comments on the side going on in the podcast?
No, we can post those. Is there one that you wanted them to see?
Well, just Brian Gardner, he has utilized the BRC 500 at a very high level as a snowbike and as a dirt bike. He lives at high elevation and he goes to really high elevations.
Where does Brian live?
So he's in Idaho, Idaho Falls, and he
Okay.
actually posted up on the comments here. Anybody wants to try out his BRC, he's happy
Yeah.
to take you out. One of the nicest gentlemen I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. He's not a customer anymore, as you aren't, and I do this with a lot of my guys, is my customers become my friends. I really have a lot of respect for them, but I really do. And Brian is right at the top of that list, is just a wicked human being. Anyways, so Brian has torture tested his BRC as a snow bike.
Yeah.
And
By the way, guys, he said that he has somebody asked, so for listeners, he says he has almost 200 hours on his engine now, and he changes the piston every 100 hours because somebody asked him how many hours did he get on it.
yeah. And he's not easy on stuff, as a snow bike. And then he takes his track kit off and rides it all year as a woods bike. And, it's not about me saying, here's what BRC does and what it can and can't do. The best testimonials are out there, with the people that are using them. And Brian's done an amazing job, and he's been he's not a BRC ambassador. He's not paid. He's not supported. He is paying me to keep his stuff rolling. And he is getting the most out of it and is enjoying it immensely. So, more guys like Brian, but he's the guy, he's the testimonial. Hit him up on Facebook and ask him for real world stuff. Ask David Spook Wolf, who has finished very high in the Tennessee Knockout hard enduro, how his BRC goes.
On the BRC?
Yeah, he did the Tennessee Knockout.
That's awesome.
Second.
That's awesome.
I want to say second in 40 or vet. Dave would have to chime in on that. But,
yeah,
these guys are doing more with the BRC 500 than I ever thought they would. It's the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
And to be able to be
That's awesome.
Part of that and hear their war stories about their race or their rides or whatnot, it's a true gift for me, and thank these guys. And, but I think I'm not leading this podcast, Kyle, but this is where I would say that we need to get Kevin in on here, because Kevin, who waited forever for the YZM 500 to show up because of supply drama.
Yeah.
Kevin got one of our prototype engines. Kevin got had an older steel frame. I don't know, these are steel frame. Anyways, he had an older YZ250, needed some love, didn't owe him nothing. And so he's like, I've got this bike and I'm going to he's a very accomplished dirt rider and also an avid
Let's get him on.
Sorry.
Yeah, let's get him
Kevin,
on.
go.
Okay. All right, Kevin, we got you on here now. Let's unmute you. Let's make sure
Kevin
we can.
the big screen.
Says we can't. Well, hold on. It says that I can't unmute you, Kevin, because it says your microphone isn't connected. So maybe if you log back out and then jump back in, or go to the settings, and then in the settings there, go to audio and maybe.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, there we go. Now we can hear you.
Yeah. Put the big mic down.
All right. So that's okay. We can hear you fine. All right. So Kevin, yeah, let's. I'm gonna give you the spotlight here for just a sec. So we got your. Ooh, look at that. We got the BRC 500, or the YZ 500 BRC in the background. So give us the scoop on your bike and the backstory and why you built it.
So, I've had a long list of 4-strokes. I think I've owned 5 or 6 over the years. A couple 250s.
And Kevin, tell us where you're at again. Like, where are you at, and what's the kind of riding that you do?
I'm in the same area as Riley. I live just north of Calgary, Alberta, and then I mainly ride the foothills of Western Canada and our Rocky Mountains.
Okay.
As well as our local motocross tracks. So I do moto and off-road, hard enduro. We have a Red Bull race that comes. I race that.
That's right. You said you raced. Was that Outliers?
Yeah. Outliers comes to downtown Calgary and like an hour away.
That's awesome.
I race all that.
And you raced it this year.
Yep. Race it every year.
On the YZ.
Maybe next year if I'm brave. But I have a KTM XC250 woods bike that I usually ride. 2-stroke also, 252 stroke.
Got it. Cool. So yeah, what's the genesis then on your bike here?
Well, '08 YZ250, or it was YZ250, but it's BRC YZM 500 now. And talked with Riley early about this time last year, and he had no plans of doing YZ for the snow, but I was like, well, I'll give it a try. Kickstart, carburetors, and all. I don't have your fancy fuel injection. Found the cheapest YZ I could find. That was kind of part of the build. It was how cheap could I make it, and how light could we make it, and how fun would it be? So picked up a bike, picked up a used 2016 Yeti kit, and slammed it all together with his engine, and had just a wicked snow bike come out of it. It's gonna go
a used '08, and then 2016 Yeti, and what did you end up building that for with the motor?
Total after everything, it come around. It was like with the engine, the bike, the kit, and then obviously you have to have all the C3 goodies. It come around $16,000.
So 16 Canadian, that's like 12, 11, like 11 US, something like that. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, the bike was 3.
So shoot,
that's 4.
Pretty damn good, man.
Well, you see the comment of it's, to buy a new one and then buy the engine and all this stuff, but there's 25 years of YZ250s. And I paid too much for that one, but it's all you can find sometimes.
Yeah. No, fair. So you built that up specifically for a snow bike last season. Okay. And how, walk us through, how was it?
It's all the cliche and what everyone's already said. It's next level. It's unbelievable. It's the best. It's the most fun. I snowbiked my Woods KTM 250 years before that. I built a YZ450 last year also, and I rode it a bit with this 500. The 450 just isn't for me. It has its place on a motocross track and in certain conditions, but as a fun factor for the way I ride in the woods, the 2-stroke is king. Just like you said, the 300 is, I'll take a 300 any day. The 500 is just a better 300.
Yeah, dude, that's a great way to explain it. A better 300.
Yeah, it's just like what you guys have already said. If you just want to go out and cruise around, the 450 is great. You kickstart it, it idles. The fuel injection's great. You ride it, it just does its thing.
I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's very clear. We look at guys like Regan Sieg, a lot of these guys that are sending it big, and they're on 450s. There's no doubt. And you're in Canada, so you're riding the big country. There's no, dude, the 450, twist the throttle, point it, and go. You just freaking ride it, right? But it is a very different animal than riding a 2-stroke as a snow bike.
Yeah, I had a 14 YZ450 last year, and I rode them back to back. And the 450, point it, pin it, and it goes. But it's just not exciting. It's just not. It's not for me. It's not my style. I want something that
for everybody listening, if you're not a snow biker, don't get me wrong, you're gonna have a shit ton of fun riding a 450 snow bike. That's Kevin's not saying it's not fun. He's just saying compared to riding this 2-stroke, especially for a really aggressive rider that's been riding their whole lives, man. It's just between the two, you're like, yep, this is just more fun. The fun factor.
Yeah, exactly, and exactly. I don't know how else to say it. It's got double switch power, and we ride really me and my friend, we ride a lot, and he's also ridden the 500s, and we ride real, when you say you ride in the trees, but we ride really tight trees. We consider it
where you're breaking plastics off, right?
Oh yeah, you come out with branches stuck in your helmet and parts are missing from bikes, and
I love it.
We get up into this crazy stuff, and you just need that big snap, just like hard enduro type stuff where you're you pop up on a hill and you scope your line, and then you just commit to it and get up on the pegs and get going. And the 500 just gets going faster. The 250 did it, but it was riding.
Yeah, what was your buddy riding?
He was on a 300 TPI years past, and then the last couple of rides he was on actually one of Riley's 500s.
Got it. Oh, was that the guy that bought your bike, Riley? He's like, I just want to buy it. Is that the guy?
Well, Kevin's got a couple of guys that he's ridden with. I guess both of them were on ultimately my snow bike from last year. And, so, it was a good comparison side by side. My KTM build was expensive. It was on a newer bike and newer kit, and everything was bought new. And basically at the end of the day, between the only thing that Kevin's bike didn't do as well as the KTM was an electric start. And, Kevin can tell the listeners as to how much of an impact not having electric start had on his day.
It's an inconvenience like once a day for me. And like I get stuck in the stupidest places. And it takes an extra few minutes to get the bike squared up, to get it so it'll balance, and one kick and away it goes. I can kick it sitting down. That's usually how I start it. If we pull up with all your buddies and you're hanging out for 5 minutes, I can just give it a boot back and it fires up. But like for me, the kickstart's not a big deal, and neither is the carburetor. I've been tuning carbs for a long time, so maybe a crazy cold day, I give I run a smart carb, so it's as easy as it gets, but a couple of clicks richer in the morning. If I need to adjust midday, a couple of clicks leaner, and away I go. It's not a big deal for me.
And you're running a carb heater or no?
Yep. Yes. Carb heater.
Okay.
Yep.
We advise people to run throttle body heaters as well. And I'll just jump in with a little aside here, and Kevin can carry on. The 4-strokes don't need a carb heater due to the architecture of a 4-stroke. The throttle body is up high on the engine, and as we all know, heat rises. That really helps the 4-stroke throttle bodies from not icing. But being that the 2-stroke throttle body and carburetor are in the same position down low, and it gets lots of snow in that area on your bike, is you can get icing depending on the humidity of your day. So we do advise any 2-stroker, not just a BRC, but if you're a 2-stroke snow bike guy, is get a carb heater or get a throttle body heater on. Eric Pele is the only guy I know that built throttle body heaters for the 2-strokes. We have them at BRC, but you can also reach out to Eric Pele. That's Eric and Paille on Facebook. And he's got them for your KTM 250 and 300s as well. So that to me, that's a necessary part of a 2-stroke snow bike build, carbureted or fuel injected. Take it away.
Yeah, and I had some of the ice buildup last year on only some specific days, not on the 500, but on my 300s. That after having that experience, I was like, yep, it'd be nice having heaters on those.
Yep. So, and Kevin, it's like you got a big dollar build beside you on the mountain, and then you've got your build that was done as how light and how economical can we make this? Performance wise, what was the difference?
They were so close. Like we were running different kits. Your build had a Timber Sled Aero 3. And mine had a Yeti with like the DTS style, the updated track. So Yeti, Timber Sled, chain drive, belt drive. But like it was anyone's race. They were so even. Whoever got the line would get the hill. But a lot of times we would go up the hill and you could stare at whoever was beside me on your bike, and they would run dead even up the hill.
And is Riley's bike? So that's the MX bike, right? The YZ.
Yes.
And was Riley's bike the MX, or was it the XC?
No, it was that bike with the track kit.
So this
the 300. Yeah, the KTM that you had.
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
Oh, XCW. Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
I'm tracking.
Yeah.
I was just curious the transmissions.
Yeah, so there's obviously the W you have a bit of a transmission gap, but I don't know. A lot of times, anyone that rode it, you just kept upshifting. They just keep going up the hill.
Yeah, that's what I found on mine. Like it didn't make a difference.
no, that like maybe there's a small advantage. I could pull the odd time a gear higher, but his kit was geared down. Like his was set up. That's honestly one of the best handling snow bikes I've ever rode was his. I mean, it worked extremely well.
So talk to us now about riding that as a dirt bike. Obviously, it's an MX bike, so it's not like you're going to go out in the woods and probably want to ride that thing.
I rode the shop bike a few times in the woods. They do it just like he explained before, like the luggability and the tractoring. It does it as well as the KTMs. You have some other obviously you get stuck on a stupid hill, you got kickstarted and stuff. But as a track bike, there's a reason Yamaha left the bike the same for 25 years. The YZ250 is great. It's so much fun on the track. I've never rode a CR500 or any open class bike on a track until this one and his other shop bike, the KTM version. And they're a lot of fun. Like on a good day, would I be faster on a 450? Probably. Like they do work so good, but am I going to have as much fun? No way. Like for me, and I didn't get as much moto time on this as I would like, but there's such a learning curve. And then once you learn it, just the fun and the fun's always there. And then once the speed comes there, it's just double win.
That and I think like we've hit on that. Like we don't even need to beat a dead horse, but guys, everybody listening, Kevin said it, Riley said it, I've said it. That I think is one of the biggest difference. What's the biggest difference between the 450 and the 500 two-stroke? It's the fun factor. And it's the fun factor if you like riding two strokes. If you don't like riding two strokes, you might get on it and be like, I hate this. I don't like this. Right? So
even as a snowbike, I think
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just touching like on learning curve. Like even as a snow bike, it took me like to retrain my brain from riding my 250, which you have to ride at like a 125. It took me 5 or 6 rides out there to figure out where the power is and how to use it properly in the terrain to make the most of it. Like there was times the first couple of rides you're not the best or the fastest or cranking the hills and you're like, oh, I need to upshift, I need to hold the gear, I need to just let it do its thing. So there's definitely a learning curve. But maybe someone just jumps on one the first ride, you might not, I don't quite get it, but I'm sure you can test this after 3 or 4 rides. You learn where the power is and how to put it down.
Yep. No, totally. So while we're going through this, so Matt Hoffius asked, is there a decomp every start, even with electric start, even when warm? Yeah, and I can answer that. I mean, it was funny because I remember that being the thing, and I'm like, oh, it's going to be a pain in the ass. Dude, I don't even think about it anymore. It takes you freaking half a second, you push it in and you start it. Like, it's not even a factor. Like I don't even think about it anymore. So, and I've started it without pushing that, in, and I know, over time that's not a good thing, but I try to always push it in every time. Do you want to talk to that, Riley?
Oh, you covered it. It just makes it easier, especially the YZM doesn't have an e-start. And so it's easier on you and it's easier on the gear train of the motorcycle. And it's just part of your day that you're doing. So it's not a big deal. Again, Eric Pele also has an electric decompressor that will bolt onto the BRC 500 engines, whether it's the YZM or the KTM versions. You can wire it into your start button so you don't have to even think about it. And as soon as you hit the button, it decomps. As soon as you release your starter, it goes back into full compression mode. So, we've engineered around the issue of big bore and hard starting, and it's not an issue. Whether it's a kick or an e-start, it's not an issue.
Another question. I just want to answer a couple of these because we got a ton of questions, so I just want to hammer some out as we're going through here. So Jeremy asks, is a 2016 300 XCW a good donor for a BRC build? I mean, I don't know why it wouldn't be. I mean, right, Riley? I mean, that's a great setup. It'd be an awesome.
It is a great setup. The only Achilles heel to what we call the first gen KTM engine is their e-start was an afterthought. And because they placed it on the side of the engine, they had to do 2 things. One, they couldn't make the diameter of the starter very large because it would hit the cylinder. And 2, they have to run it through a 90-degree bevel drive gear system, which robs starting power. So when you're building what we call the Gen 1, which is the 2005 through 2016 KTM two-stroke engine up with a BRC, we've come up with a starting solution of 24 volts to use with the original starter. And that basically, let's just for rudimentary, let's say it spins the engine twice as fast as it normally would as 12 volts. It does work well. In my experience, it has not worn out starters any faster than they would wear out on their own as a 250 or 300 and 12 volt. So it's not but those starters were basically a consumable. I think everybody that owned a bike for more than a year had to replace the starter, work on the Bendix and the Bendix bushing. So just know that, it's doable. It's a great bike. If it owes you nothing and you want to turn it into a snow bike, hells yeah, go do it. I will say to people that we're producing more of the Gen 1 kits. So the 05 through 2016 kits. Now we should have more in stock in about 5 months. And all of the new Gen 1 kits come with the new the Gen 2 cylinder. I saw a question on here asking about the Gen 3 cylinder. I think you're a little bit mistaken. There is no Gen 3 cylinder. I think you're talking about the triple blade power valve. And so, yes, any Gen 1 engine, so 05 through 2016 engine kits from BRC will be being supplied with the exact same cylinder as the Gen 2 engines. And so you will have the triple blade power valve on the Gen 1 engine as standard moving forward. So that's the real only difference, like as far as performance and horsepower goes. You might even say a Gen 1 might make more power because on the Gen 1 engines, the reed cage is larger. You're splitting hairs and you'd never feel it on your butt dyno. You'd see it on a dyno, but it's nothing to get hung up about. And I tell people, if that's what you got to work with, it's a great platform and you won't be disappointed. I have a carbureted Gen 2 bike. Should I get the EFI bike? No. Just like Kevin stated, it's like there's merits to both, and sometimes, especially in the backcountry, the simplicity of a carburetor and a CDI ignition system and gravity fed fuel delivery, sometimes there's a lot to be said for that, so don't go out. If you've got a bike that you're thinking about doing it with, it'll be fine. If it's carbureted or EFI, Gen 1 model year or Gen 2, you'll be fine. Don't go out and spend more money on another bike. There's just differences, but they all work really well.
So there you go, Jeremy. And then his other follow-up is mine an electric start? Yeah, that's a 22. So that one has the electric start. And I have the Kickstarter on it as well as my backup. So it works really well. And then I saw Jeremy mentioned, he said his starter button or his starter doesn't work half the time anyways. On his 300.
So Matt Hoffus, just asked, what kind of horsepower are you thinking I'll get? 21, 500 EC, TBI, Huga pipe, TSP, ERM. Horsepower, dyno numbers.
By the way, guys, here's the Huga pipe. This is the Snowbike pipe. Okay. This thing is a freaking animal, which it's all ceramic coated, and it's a lot of pipe, and it gets the ladies. Just kidding. It gets some stares, that's for sure.
So Matt, I have years past. I used to always be talking about the horsepower numbers that we see on our dyno, and it's never good enough. It's never good enough for the public that have never owned and operated their own dyno and have been around dynamometers like I have for the past 35 years. And what I come to realize, a dynamometer is a great test tool. It's a great test tool to test components. Like, is the Huga pipe worth it over the stock stamp pipe. Okay. It's a great at telling you those kind of things. To hang your hat on anyone's dyno numbers, including BRC's dyno numbers, and make your decisions based on those numbers, whether they're mine or anybody else's, is wrong. It's uninformed. You're comparing apples to apricots. It's not the same, and it will never be the same. I don't care who tells you differently. It will never be the same, especially with the dynamometers that anybody online is using and talking about. You know, they are not the ultimate in scientific tools with climate controlled rooms like the factories have. Now, I will quantify this to answer your question. Our dynamometer, we put a stock KTM 300 TPI bike in our dynamometer. Our dynamometer showed it at 47 horsepower. We put a TSP
47.
47. We put a TSP high compression head kit on with a TSP mapping, and it'll take it, depending on the bike and how fresh the piston is, between 51.5 and 53 horsepower. An awesome improvement. That same dynamometer on the same day with the same build as what Kyle's bike is, Huga Snowbike Pipe, BRC TBI throttle body, Get ECU, our standard head of 12.8 to 1 compression. Big bores don't really like huge compression. Pump gas. We made 78 horsepower and 65.5 foot-pounds of torque. Wow, amazing, awesome. Look at me brag and break the internet with my dyno numbers. It means sweet fuck all. And I'm going to tell you that, okay? It's about the riding experience and what it does. The new 450s make 62 to 65 horse and 35 to 38 foot-pounds of torque. What you cannot duplicate and replicate with any other bike on the planet, aside from a KX or a CR500, because they have the ability to do it too, is the torque. And everybody wants to talk horsepower. Horsepower is a calculated fictitious number based on how much torque at a specific RPM divided by the constant 52. Torque is actually measurable. Pound-feet of torque. I have a 1 foot, 12-inch lever. 1 foot. I put 10 pounds on it. I have created 10 foot-pounds of force, and that force is what does work. And work is what spins your track, what spins your rear tire. Spinning a rear tire on any dirt bike is not hard to do. Spinning the track, a 3-inch paddle track or the new 3.25-inch mountain horse track, now that takes some horsepower. Oh, hold on. I used that bad word again. Sorry, that takes some torque to do. Okay, so let's talk torque. There's nothing that compares to a big bore two-stroke in terms of torque. And that's what's doing the work, moving your track in that heavy, deep snow on the hero days. That's where you feel it. So to answer your question, your bike should make 78 horsepower and 65 foot-pounds of torque and blow the panties off your grandmother. Okay, it's about your ride experience and making a smile on your face. And like the two-stroke purists that are on here chiming in the comment section, and the people that have ridden it, giving their testimonials, that's what it does for them. Don't get hung up on the numbers of any build, any bike, 4-stroke, 2-stroke, turbo, it don't matter. Go and ride it and tell me how it works. That's all I got to say. Again, long-winded. I apologize.
No, that was awesome. And now you just gave me a completely new moniker for Snowbike Nation, and it's going to go on the BRC 500. And it's going to say, "Blow the panties off your grandmother." That's what that. that's what it's going to be, man. Just blow the panties off your grandmother and ride the BRC 500. Jeremy, look, yeah, Jeremy said you had me at Grammy panties. Oh,
Each their own, brother.
Oh, that was funny. So, dude, that was great. So, Kevin, I guess, segueing back into yours, I wanted to get to, you and I were talking about before the call, we were just kind of talking high level about the bikes. And so give us your take on going out and riding with some guys that, you know, were kind of on the fence, or they did, what, you know, cool BRC 500 two-stroke, and then they ride your setup and kind of walk through what they said?
I think you're asking, like, yeah, we went and rode, and like it was mentioned earlier, like, guys got off like their 501s and their big bore 450s, and the one guy in particular, he had a big bore KTM, like a 490, high compression, race fuel, all that stuff, jumps on the two-stroke, and he's like, that's it, I love it. Other guys, they jump on them and they're like, it's cool, but like, it's just not my jam. Like, I want to just hang out. Like, it's the more you ride, the more you find there's just different crowds. It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
It's
Totally.
Let's examine it. It's like the kits, the endless. What is the best? Like, what works for you, and then what works for you, but what is set up for you? Like, what's set up for Riley? Even the same bike, same kit, probably isn't set up for me. One of the problems and good things about snow bikes, it can be so tailored to you. And even with his 500 engines, like, I run the YZ because I don't mind kicks, and I even run the stock pipe. Like, so many guys I gotta have the pipe, and I gotta have all the stuff. Like, just try it first. You might like it.
Yeah.
And then go from there. Like, there's so many levels, and it's
agreed.
It's almost problem. There's too many options, maybe. Like, you know, snowmobiles, you can buy one off the shelf and you ride it, and that's kind of what you get, like 3 options from Polaris and 2 options from Skidoo.
Yeah.
But these, it's like, I wonder how many actual combinations there is. There's thousands. And you know,
endless. Yeah. Between
between
kits and bikes and adding different there's so many things you can do. I wanted to show this earlier. Donnie has said the YZM is the easiest starting 500 out there, so there you go. I mean, and what did you say, usually 1 or 2 kicks it would take you?
Like, when it's hot, 1 kick, and when it's cold, like in the morning, a couple of kicks. I've done it as I have a video, I haven't posted it, but when MX Revival was building his Annihilator build, I sent it to him just to show how easy it was. But I started it barefoot in my garage. I warmed it up, and then a hot start barefoot. I don't recommend doing it. It's like, if something went wrong, it's gonna hurt your foot. But that is how easy it's and even Riley, like, now the YZ's got a big kickstart lever on it. The KTM's have those little nubs, and he's like, I think his battery died or something one day, and he's kickstarted it all day. Like, even on the mountain, the KTMs will kickstart just as easy. It's like, I mean,
at the end of the day, that YZ, you know, the Yzilla 500, like, it gets the job done just the same. It's just a different animal.
Yeah, and you just gotta ride it kind of like you're angry. You can cruise up the trail and roll on the power, and it
like you're angry.
Arms off when the power valve opens.
Dude, you've heard the comment. Just ride it like you stole it.
Yep,
that's right.
Fun. With like anything that I ride it like you stole it. If I can hang on and not hit nothing, that's a good day.
It makes you feel like a superstar in the snow, because I can't ride it as, like, Carson Brown or just rode his on dirt, or Dirtbike magazine's on dirt, and it's he can ride the wheels off anything. I can't ride the wheels off anything on dirt, but in the snow, it makes me feel like a rock star.
Well, and that's what was so fun about on Saturday when I got to do these hill climbs, because when I'm riding that 500 enduro, I'm barely tapping into the power of it. You know, I'm just
30 horsepower.
If that, right? And so it was like, I got to open it up going up these hills. Even then, I'm like, I was at like half, maybe 3/4 throttle in a couple spots, because I'm like, dude, if I twist the throttle anymore, I'm gonna loop out. I mean, I was like up on the front, like, you know, it was like snowbiking up that hill. And it's the bikes are so capable. That's one of the most fun things I think about snowbiking, is like, when do you get the opportunity to wide open throttle a freaking motocross or, you know, dirt bike almost all day? So Riley, someone asked this question, and I thought this was really cool. Or I wouldn't say a question, but he says the BRC 500 power is temperature dependent as well, which is really 2 strokes. And in general, 130 degrees Fahrenheit is money. And I'll say, you know, Riley told me right out of the gate, get a frickin' get a tunnel cooler, put it on there. You'll be very happy. So I put on an XRT tunnel cooler, and that thing was dialed in. I think it was like 134 all the time, and it was perfect. And I'm a fan now of tunnel coolers. I'm going to put them on all my bikes because I never have to think about it anymore. It just, as long as it's getting snow, man, it's pegged there. So, and then another guy asked this question, Riley, why is it that a two-stroke likes the cooler engine temps compared to the 180 plus of a four-stroke? Could you walk us through that?
Absolutely. And, you know, the 130F in metric Canuck land here, we're striving for 60 degrees Celsius. So we're talking the same thing anyways. The difference is, and like we can also answer Steve Ice's question, why a two-stroke likes a colder temps than a four-stroke at the same time here. But basically, any of your two-stroke snow bike builds, this is not specific to BRC, any two-stroke, you want to keep your coolant temperature, well, okay, after 60 degrees Celsius, which you can ask Siri what that is in Fahrenheit. I'm going to say it's about 130 degrees Fahrenheit, like Brian Gardner said.
Give or take.
All right. After 60 degrees, for every 1 degree Celsius of increased water temperature, you will lose
140.
140. Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
You're going to lose about 1% power. Say what? So when I'm riding in the woods and my bike is at 180 or 90 degrees Celsius, I'm losing 30% power? Yes, you are. You don't know it because all the bikes have more power than we typically can use, as Kevin touched on. In GP, when GP two-strokes, at the end of the GP two-stroke era, they were striving for 44 degrees Celsius water temperature. What's that in Fahrenheit, math guy? Kyle? 44 degrees.
What did you say?
44
Celsius?
Yes, is how much Fahrenheit?
111.
111 degrees Fahrenheit is what the MotoGP two-strokes were trying to run at. How do they do that in Spain on a 40 degrees Celsius day? Okay.
Yeah. What'd they do?
So you can't. But massive radiators. These are road bikes, race bikes, right? So on our dirt bike, all of our dirt bikes, two-strokes, are all A, the radiators are too small. B, they don't have enough volume. And C, we can't ride fast enough to get the airflow through them. So it is what it is. That's just how it is. Now, your four-strokes. So let me just finish the answer. A two-stroke, your incoming charge comes into your crankcase first. So if your crankcase is scorching hot, then it can't get in all that awesome oxygen and fuel without expanding. And when you expand it, you lose available volume to fill. So you're just not getting that oxygen into your engine to make it transfer up on top of your piston and go boom, and a bigger boom, the hotter you run. So when you can keep it cool, now being in a snow application, you've got this wonderful white stuff that is kind of chilly. And so you can take advantage of it. And obviously sleds have been doing it forever. All right. It's a natural, and most sleds up until Yamaha have been two-strokes. And so then you have the tunnel cooler and it just works. And that just became, the commonplace. Now we take snow bikes, four-stroke snow bikes. I can't comment on the Yamaha sleds. I know they have their place. They're fucking heavy. I know that. Anyways, but the two-stroke and the four-stroke, you need to maintain temperature. So you got all this cool snow running across your engine, cooling it down. And this is why four-stroke riders struggle to maintain heat in their engines and engine blankets and so on and so forth. And that's because a four-stroke engine uses plain bearings or shell bearings. And the clearances in those bearings
for where?
On your sometimes on your connecting rod and then in your camshafts. Okay, a lot of these engines.
So what's the difference between these bearings?
I was about to get to that. Okay. You use something called Plastigauge to figure out your clearances of your bearings. And this is measured to the 10th of a thousandth of an inch. One of your hairs is approximately 4 thousandths of an inch. Now move the decimal point over to the right, or sorry, I guess, yeah, over to the left one. Okay, 0.0004 is 1/10 of your hair. Cut your hair in 10 pieces. That's small. Now cut that in about half again. So that's the clearances that are in in your 4-stroke engine, in some of the areas of your 4-stroke engine that you're trying to pump in, and I'm going to say it, Rotella, through.
Rotella.
All right. Or whatever oil you're using. I just love the oil debates on the internet. Anyways.
Yeah.
And you're
5W40.
You're trying to pump that oil that's also cooled down somewhat and may not be running in the operating range that it's been intended to, and it can be kind of thick. And then you don't get the lubrication. Obviously, in a 4-stroke, that is catastrophic failure time. So it's very important that your 4-stroke is at those 180F to even 210F temperatures. Get yourself a thermostat according to those temperatures. And yes, blanket your 4-stroke in for that. On your 2-stroke, we don't have to run blankets or guards. We run a heat exchanger. I have to say, there's a lot of great snow bike companies out there in the accessories department, and I'm not paid by C3. They respect me. I respect them. Their products have been revolutionary for us and the application of a 2-stroke to a snow bike application. Their thermostats are accurate. They are small. Their 60-degree swivel thermostat is what we advise any 2-stroke guy to go and get. Very easy to hook up the thermostat to any of the 2-stroke engines. Ours being the hardest because there's less room, and you can go out of the thermostat back to your tunnel cooler, out of your tunnel cooler, back to your left radiator, across your left radiator to your right radiator, down to your pump. But what we also do with their thermostat is they have all the bypass ports that you can run your throttle body heater, run your coolant heated bars. And what we like to do in our builds is we have our throttle or our thermostat, and we come off the thermostat back to our throttle body or carb heater, from our carb heater, throttle body heater up to our bars, and from our bars back down to our water pump. And what that does is, say my hands are getting too warm. Well, I know that my carburetor throttle body is warmer than it has to be. So I just take that really convenient C3 heated bar valve, and I just give it a quarter turn twist and shut some of that off. And so my hands become the thermostat for the throttle body. And you can stay very consistent. So to explain what Brian Gardner is saying there, it's very important. Yes, on any 2-strokes, 130 degrees Fahrenheit, 60 degrees Celsius is a great coolant and a thermostat number to achieve on any 2-stroke snow bike. And because you are on snow, you can take advantage of that cool stuff and be there and make nothing but horsepower, and your engine's going to love it all day long. So I hope that answered those questions. Long-winded.
I think so.
So
yeah, and it's funny because whenever I'm riding with guys and they have no idea, and for me, and I think it was Brian, did he say, yeah, dude, that's freaking genius, bro. I run 2 fans for the dirt, 1 pusher on the left radiator and 1 puller on the right. I love that. I want to figure that out. But I will say, so on all my fans, I set them at 150 because that's the lowest you can go on the Trail Tech fans. And they're just running all the time. But for me, I'm like, whatever, dude, if I burn up a fan, eventually I'd rather my motor stay cooler because I know the power, it's getting better power, everything about it's better. And most guys are like, oh, I just keep mine at 180. I'm like, yeah, not for 2-strokes. You don't want to run that on 2-strokes. So run those. In summertime, to your point, Riley, it's like you're never getting full power and everything because these bikes just run so warm in the summer. But man, in the wintertime, we can extract every ounce of that power because we can maintain those temperatures better because of the snow. And all you guys got to do is look at snowmobiles. That's what they're running, right? They're running 120, 140, temperatures.
Yep. Yep.
The 2 strokes.
And your 4-stroke guys, you can still use a tunnel cooler. You might be able to do a radiator delete. Some people build their 2 strokes and like, oh, I'm going to get rid of the radiators. And I'm going to tell you, and it's just my opinion. So take it as just my opinion. It's not gospel. I like to run the radiators because when I'm on a trail on a spring day and I'm not kicking up a bunch of snow to my tunnel cooler, even with scratchers, at least when I'm on the trail in where I typically have some decent speed going, is I'm getting that cooling through my radiators. But the radiators do 2 other things. They add coolant volume, very important. And they are also the highest point of your cooling system, which is very important, which is why your rad cap is there, because it's impossible to bleed all the air out of any coolant system. We all do it and try and think we got it. There's always air, always. And by having a high point expansion tank being your radiator with your radiator cap on there, then it will bleed the air out of your coolant eventually. But if you did take your radiators away, you should still engineer in a coolant expansion tank with preferably like a 1.6 to 1.8 bar radiator cap. So that's the best way to engineer your cooling system for a snow bike, a 2-stroke snow bike. So
Yeah, and last year I didn't run that right side radiator. This year I want to for that reason. And you could throw the fan on there, and again, it's just going to constantly be sucking in cold air, especially when you're riding down the trail. And for me, because I like to know that my bikes are always running cooler, because I got people riding them and they're not always paying attention. So it only makes sense to run that. It would be the right side, right? Am I thinking right, Riley?
That's typically where the rad cap is. So you want to keep the rad cap, at least the rad cap. I just got to hook up a power cord here. I didn't expect that this was, we're having fun. We're talking.
Yeah, you should have known. While Riley's doing that, I'm going to pull up some of these questions. So I don't know if this is a question, but David said, so I shouldn't have just redone my 11-cylinder and top end and bought 450. Well, David, it'll be a fun bike for sure, but yeah, I would recommend trying out the BRC for sure, dude. And when you say 11, like a 2011, is that what you're asking? Also, I wanted to bring up something that Andrew said why we're doing this, guys. So Andrew Pullman, this is what he says. To make it short, after 9 years of snowbiking, the BRC really taught me how to ride and be aggressive, and with the extra power and torque to make the bikes work, and put a huge smile on my face. I remember testing a customer's BRC and I couldn't keep the ski down. It was wild. Went to BRC after that weekend and started building my own. So Andrew's just building upon what we've already said, and just riding it aggressive and learning to ride it, like Riley said, ride it like you stole it, man. If you do that, you're going to be having the Grammy panties are going to be blown off.
I hope my mom doesn't see this.
At least you didn't say mom panties. You said Grammy panties. So. No. And then there's some questions in here for you, Riley. Oh, Brian Gardner, by the way, he said his starter deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. It's got over 315 hours on it, 115 on a 300, and the rest on the 500. So the dude has like 200 hours on his 500. That's impressive. Damn.
Now, keep in mind that Brian also, I can speak to his diligence on maintenance. He is very mechanically inclined. He stays up on these things. He's not waiting for things to fail. He is looking at them and replacing Bendix bushings and what have you. So, it's not, you can't just forget about it. You do have to maintain it. And so I know that he's been doing that the whole time, but not a bunch. And
it's like all of this. Yeah, and it's like all the snowbike stuff. It's especially guys, and I think that's one of the challenges. A lot of guys say, oh, there's just too much maintenance. It's like, well, maybe. I never break shit when I ride either, like a snowmobile. So, I'd rather take maybe a little extra maintenance to be able to ride more, and I'm not breaking A-arms. To this day, knock on wood, I've never had to. Well, no, I take that back. We have had to pull bikes out, but that wasn't because it broke. It was because a clutch failed. But other than that, like I've always been able to ride out, and we've done some pretty gnarly shit. So the snow bikes, if you maintain them and do the proper maintenance, man, they'll get you out of there. Oh yeah, David did say it was a 2011 300. J. Kel said, how many hours do you recommend to replace a piston on your bike, Riley? And I'm sure that's just depends, but
And you're 100% right there. It depends on application, depends on the tune. For snow biking, typically I'll enter a season with a fresh top end for sure. I'll do typically a top end for me, the way I ride, which, is not hero levels of some guys. I'll do it at 80 hours. And it might be premature in some aspects, but it gives me backcountry peace of mind, which for me, you can't put a price on. If you're a pro level motocrosser like Carson Brown, if you guys have seen that Dirtbike magazine reel of him hucking the Dirtbike magazine YZ250 500 around, at that level, yeah, you're going to do it at 20 to 30 hours. So realistically, if you were to follow the maintenance schedule as set out by KTM or by Yamaha and apply that to your 500, you'll be well served. You don't have to do it any more often than that. And that obviously assumes that tuning has been is proper tuning. Of course, we can wreck an engine in a matter of minutes if we're dumb about it. In normal operations, and that's normal. Like snowbiking is not easy on stuff. The one thing, like we just touched on, is the cooling. Keeping that coolant down is temperature down is great for your two-stroke. As it carries more oxygen, it's carrying more of that pre-mixed goodness into your engine, lubricating stuff. So, don't be afraid to run heavier oil loads. More increased oil. Back in the 90s, manufacturers like Opti Plus, go 100 to 1, smokeless. Well, all that's not good for power, for one, nor for reliability. And people think, well, if I mix a lot of oil in, I got to be reducing friction. No, it has nothing to do with reducing friction. More oil helps your crank seals to seal. It helps your piston is also a seal. Your piston is being thrust about fore and aft on your cylinder, and especially on the exhaust port side, you want it to thrust against your exhaust port. Wait a second here. Why do I want to do that? It's going to seize. That's why you use high quality oil. It's because you don't want that oil to shear and become aluminum on Nicosil or aluminum on cast iron. But you want that piston to be thrust over to that exhaust face so that it seals the exhaust from your expansion stroke. Not only that, but then your rings seal better, so you make more compression, which makes more horsepower. That's why you run heavier oil loads. We did a test back in the day, all the way down from 50 to 1 down to 6 to 1. At 6
did you
to
say
1,
6?
6. It was molasses. The engine was hard to start. If I didn't get on the gas right away, it would foul a plug, oil foul a plug. That made the most horsepower on the dyno. What? Weird. Now I can't afford at today's prices to mix my gas at 6 to 1. So,
No.
and I'm not recommending that either, but it was a learning thing for us. And it did tell us something that, whoa, wait a second here. There is something about, so I would say you run your premix ratio, you run as heavy an oil load as you can get away with without fouling your plug. That will be the most horsepower.
Which, and Riley, for me, I know you said I was running 32 to 1 for snow and 50 to 1 for dirt.
Yep. And that's totally adequate. If you were going to ride your BRC as a desert racer, I might say go to 24 to 1, So,
Maybe I'll try that.
So, you don't need to, say woods riding 50 to 1. We've done the homework, done the testing, the percentage gains of going heavier than 32 to 1 for your snow bike. It's just not there. So, 32 to 1's fine.
Well, now you said it, I got to try it. So
Go to 6. 6.5 to 1.
Go to 6. Let's try it. Oh, here's someone that said 25 more oil equals more power and a happy motor. He runs 25 to 1 in his KX 500 snow bike.
Absolutely. I believe that all day long. You know? So
Speaking of KX, here's Nick Van Schoik, my buddy over here in Kalispell. Is there any plans to make a kit for the KX?
None. Zero. Never going to happen.
Never.
And I hate to be that negative and that absolute about it. The reality of it is that for us to recover our investment, for every engine kit that we do, it's about $500,000 out of investment. You know, I just can't. I need to have the numbers. You know, people with Shurtkos and Betas and RM 250s and hey, can you do a kit for this or a CR 250? And the fact of the matter is we can't, because the manufacturers, for one, didn't leave the bikes the same for enough model years to have that many potential donor motorcycles out there on the planet that would want to convert to this. Because let's face it, it's a very small percentage of people that, you know, have the idea that their 250 wasn't enough, so I need 500. You know, we're happy to oblige those that want that, but that's the reality of it. And so unfortunately the KX, as cool a bike as it is, and it was just never prolific enough that makes it economic sense for us. So that would be suicide for us to do that kit.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of people, kind of forget. Like, oh, do this, do that. It's like, yeah, well, there's an extreme cost to it. Mike Keller asked, will the BRC Counterbalance CR500 come with eStart?
No. And same with their YZM 500. People ask this question a lot, and we tried. For the Yamaha specifically, we couldn't get it in a KTM, a new style KTM location. You'd have to do massive frame modifications. And part of our business model is to make sure that you guys don't have to do the fabrication to your chassis. You know, our kits are, if you've ever rebuilt a 2-stroke engine top to bottom, you can build your own BRC 500 engine up and put it into your bike and go riding without any welders, cutting tools, torches. And so the location or the acreage wasn't there to do it on the YZM. And another reason for that is we chose a balance shaft in these engines over electric start. Quite frankly, it was my decision. You know, gray hair. Okay. I like nice things. I like comfort now. That's my demographic. We're not selling to 20, 25-year-olds that can ride through anything. You know, our demographic is 40 to 65-year-old guys, and you know, niceties and comfort, that goes a long way with that crowd. And I get the eStart question. I do. But for me, the bikes have not been, if you're riding a dirt bike, you have some sort of physical fitness to begin with. So we have the decompressor there. So kicking these things isn't hard to do. There's a lot of videos out there of me doing it in my running shoes. Kevin did it, you know, in bare feet. I need to see that video. So it's not that hard to do. But I tell you, riding for 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 hours at a time with a bike that is vibrating, my hands are falling asleep, my feet are falling asleep. You know, I haven't been exactly easy on my body in these 51 years of life. And, you know, so I'm a little bit arthritic in my hands and my wrists and my shoulders, and vibration just really sucks. And so that, unfortunately, was the decision that we had to make, the compromise. And in any engine design that there ever was, 2-strokes especially, everything you do is an absolute compromise. Okay, there's not a perfect engine out there, but that was one of the compromises that we had to do with the YZM kit. And to answer your question, the CR500 balance shaft case set, the balance shaft is in the way of an e-starter. I'm sorry, but I'm going to ride with the balance shaft all day long and keep on kicking. The moment I can't kick, I shouldn't be riding my dirt bike. That's my
and Riley, with the Honda motor, you know, talking about economics, it's just, there's so many of them out there, right? It makes sense because there is so many of those motors out there.
Yeah, and it's like, and I'm not meaning this disrespectfully, it's a cult following. It's a thing.
Yeah.
You know, they're still considered the holy grail of open class bikes. You know, which is super cool. I love the 500 builds actually. And on this chat, I saw somebody ask about the Panthera, the new Panthera engine.
Yeah, I've got that tagged. We can get to that. Do you wanted to get to that right now?
I'll maybe touch on it, but it's, you know.
So yeah, this is what he asked. Is there the counterbalance E-Start Panther engine?
Yeah. So, and actually today I saw another 500cc engine that's being built out of South Africa, you know, and I think people expect me to be, you know, to talk down about these other manufacturers. No, I got all the respect in the world for these guys that go out on a limb like this and do the engineering and the manufacturing and go through the process and, you know, go through the compromise selection and figure out what's important to them and what they think is going to be important to their customers. And, you know, I wish Panthera all the best and to bring their platform out to the market and rip it, man, you know, and I hope that it's reliable and successful for them. And same with this new company in South Africa. I will say I'm flattered by both. If you followed our progress at all, you will, and seen Panthera, you'll notice that their new servo operated, super cool, triple blade power valve is really similar to BRC's. And the South African engine, which looks like it might be based on a Gen 1 KTM, so or like an 05 through 2016 engine. They have a picture of their cylinder upside down, and our cylinder is very, very unique in the world of two-stroke cylinders with how it looks and the transfer ports and where they're at, and you know, having the two M10 studs holding the cylinder down, but also those two M6s helping holding your cylinder down between those massive transfer ports, so your base gasket doesn't squirt out the side. Anyways, they copied that. I mean, sorry, they did that too. I don't say they copied that. They did that too.
They're flattering you.
It is. It's a huge amount of flattery, and it works. Yeah. And so, you know what? You know, kudos to Panthera and this other outfit is they're paying attention to stuff that we've had success with, and hopefully that gives them some success too. You've got Tommasin Racing in Italy that has come out with a new their T500, which is for the new Honda CRF 450 bike, badass looking motorcycle. And Tommasin, they don't half-ass anything. And it's
what's the name of that?
Tommasin, Tomassin, I want to say.
Okay.
They're big.
It's a 500?
I want to say they call it the T500.
Well, go ahead. I'm gonna find this.
So Tommasin's done this massive undertaking, and you can definitely see where they put the emphasis on the design and the compromises that made sense for them. And so this is a 500cc two-stroke that is going to bolt into a new CRF 450 chassis, and it's going to have electric start, and it's going to be fuel injected, and it can be complete with transmission and all this radness, right? And you know, again, very, very cool. It you know, this engine, to my knowledge, does not have a balance shaft. So, you know, they had to make a decision there, right? In their design, like,
it's going to vibrate.
Well, you know, but there's things you can do with balance factors of the crankshafts, and a lot of vibration on the engines are also caused by improper jetting. Okay, so improper jetting is rich jetting on a CR 500 can create a lot of vibration that the engine's not producing, but your poor tuning is. You will never, you know, a counterbalance shaft does not get rid of vibration. It gets rid of the felt forces of the rider. The forces are still there in the engine. All that imbalance is still there in the engine.
Got it.
But the magnitude and the amplitude of those forces are just being knocked down to a level that my hands aren't tingling anymore. Okay.
That makes sense.
So, there's a lot of things that a guy can do. So, again, you got Tomasin doing that. Super cool. That Honda is a good looking motorcycle, I tell you. They're fuel injected. So anyways, really cool time to be around the open class stuff right now, as you have so many companies now jumping into this with their thoughts and ideas and what they're coming up with. And I hope all the best, except for Brad Walma's comment that hurt.
Yeah, I just saw this. I've never seen that.
Those are always the April Fool's ads. Same as every year we see that Honda's going to bring back the CR500. So Brad, don't put much.
It was probably a BRC 500 two-stroke bike.
So
probably what it was.
Quite frankly, if any of the major manufacturers decide to build a 500 two-stroke, I don't see why I'd be in business anymore. Because they are who they are for a reason.
Other than being able to retrofit these bikes, right? A guy
of course, the
not
manufacturer's not going to care about that. And so there's still that. And of course, the YZM having 24 years of compatibility, or 25, I don't know what it is. Anyways, is awesome. But we do what we do because there's a want and a desire and a niche for it. But by no means is this going to make us into a budding, KTM-esque manufacturer, or even a TM boutique manufacturer. We will always be small, but that's kind of cool too, because we can always stay passionate. We can be flexible, and we can hopefully respond to our customers' requirements and not let ego get into the way.
I love that, man. That's spot on. So a couple other things on here I'm just going to address. So someone said they want to see my two-strokes in the PAL this winter. Well, come ride with me. We rode them in the PAL last winter, so we ride them in the PAL every winter. So we'll continue to do that along with the 500. Someone said, can you imagine that 500 on a mountaintop, 3 1/4?
Oh, yeah.
You'll see it.
Yeah.
You'll see it.
Hey, guys, go check out Assault Snowbikes, as they just built up the world's first YZM 500 with the new mountaintop 3 1/4 track. That thing is going to be savage.
Hell yeah. So
Assault
they just
Snowbikes out of Grand Prairie, Alberta, and Newcastle.
Yeah, I just went right to Assault Snowbikes. So these guys sell bike builds. Oh, sick. Right on. Okay, here, this is a good one for you, Riley. Is the BRC CVT power plant still being developed?
Why would it need to be developed when perfection's already been achieved with it?
That's right. It's done. I think the question is anything happening with this right now?
Yes, I know that's the question. And
yeah,
And God, what a neat project that was, and is. I've talked a lot on this podcast about learning and being a student of things and compromises. And I also have to be realistic on what is and isn't possible for our small company to do. And, I think outside looking in, our small company is doing some really big things. To tackle building a complete first to snow. I hope Alan Mangum is still on here, because that was in our very first initial conversations, being first to snow with the world's first purpose-built snow bike was our goal. And, the CVT is too much for us as a company to take on and bite off and execute. And if we did do it, it would be a boutique bike with a 6-figure price tag. I don't think that's what the sport needs. We have been in talks with the OEM manufacturers, or more like the OEM manufacturers have been in talks with us. I believe it's been recognized that this will be the future of snowbiking. It truly is. It's very easy to ride. It's very rewarding to ride. but I don't think that the manufacturers are done with the kit concept yet. It is the way to go. I've proven it to myself. It works incredibly well. It's very easy to ride. You know, it's so easy to ride that if a person was, say, an amputee, they could ride that CVT snow bike in anger on the mountain, right with anybody that is not an amputee. Whether you're missing a hand, cool. It really is, and that could actually open up other markets, like a whole new market, you know. And I think that's an important market also. It also, from a search and rescue, we've been approached by some people that usually wear camouflage about what this would do for the dew line defense, because there's areas that they can't get to that easily, and a snow bike is easier. There's less training for those guys to do, teaching a person how to ride a snow bike than traversing the same terrain on a snowmobile. And we all know that, you guys have come from sleds and gone to snow bike, and it's like, whoa, this is easy, you know, traversing on and so there's an application there. I know that one particular manufacturer who is very well aware of my patent on the CVT design has made at least 3 prototype attempts and to try to get around our patent unsuccessfully. So it's my hope that we can partner with an OEM manufacturer, impart our years of testing and basically answering their own questions for ourselves on the CVT, and work together with them to bring a CVT powered snow bike to market. And I think that there would instantly be 2 levels of this bike. There would be the naturally aspirated version, which works incredibly well. And then there would be the boosted version. And we've all seen what the boosted sleds have been doing. You know, it's basically bringing your sea level atmosphere to 10,000 feet elevation, which when you're talking about
turbo kit, that's what you're talking about.
Boosted, baby. That's what ours is. That's where our CVT prototype snow bike, after we were done with it being naturally aspirated and proved to ourselves that it is definitely the future, then, you know, we're looking at what other manufacturers, the sled guys, are doing. They're coming out their boosted sleds, and we went, aha, you know, we always thought of turbochargers and superchargers of making more horsepower, making 100 horsepower snow bike or 120 horsepower snow bike. And we all know there's been problems with those builds. Those guys have done it, and a lot of those builds have had problems. I can't comment on all of them. I'm not an expert in that area, but the boosted, what the manufacturers of boosted sleds are doing is they're maintaining approximately 30 inches of manifold, 30 inches of mercury manifold pressure. That's the same pressure at sea level. And so say you got a BRC, and I'm just going to use a round number here. Don't hold it to me. You know, I don't know whose dyno this was done on, an 80 horsepower BRC. Okay. Well, that's 80 horsepower corrected to sea level. All right. Well, none of us can ride a snow bike at sea level, obviously. But at 7,000 feet, that 80 horsepower in actuality is about 47, 48. Okay. And wow, it's still fun at 7,000 feet, right? Our snow bikes, and the same losses happen to your 4-stroke, right? You know, your 65 horsepower 4-stroke is, you know, 42 to 45 horse at elevation, right? And the higher you go, the worse off it is. Ask Brian Gartner. He rides up to 10, 11,000 feet. So what the manufacturers did for sleds is they said, you know what, rather than boosting these sleds to enormous horsepower numbers, what if we just gave our customers that are riding, you know, 5, 6, 10, 12,000 feet sea level horsepower, which if you think about it, so if a BRC for round numbers is 80 at sea level and at 7,000 feet is 50, well, 30 over 50, the difference between 80 and 50, that's a 60% increase. Now, the coolest part about this whole part is that 60%. That's a massive, massive change. But guess what I didn't do? I didn't overstress the components of the engine to make it unreliable. And that's the concept that the boosted sled manufacturers have brought to market successfully. And this is why I think there's room for a CVT naturally aspirated snow bike, that people getting into the sport, they don't need all the horsepower, possibly, people that with disability, people that are smaller, less experienced, they can get into a CVT snow bike, rip and ride really easily. And then the guys that want performance, well, they pay a little bit more money for the boosted one, and you're going to have unparalleled performance. And this is not the boost, our patent and everything, blah, blah, blah. It's not specific to two strokes. Right. This could be a 4-stroke design if a manufacturer wanted to go that way. This is the future. This needs to be done. And hopefully we can partner with an OEM that sees that same vision to give us snow bikers what we really want.
I believe that, as I've talked to, like Brett Rasmussen and Mark Hoffman, and, you're talking to the OGs there, and where the industry has gone, like I think it's going to happen eventually. I think it'll happen in our lifetime. That's my, that's my 2 cents. So hopefully I can help push that along with all this shit, just getting more people riding. By the way, guys, anybody on here, I doubt anybody's from SoCal, but if you are, I'm heading to SoCal Thursday, and then we're going to be riding the motocross tracks at Glen Helen and Paris Raceway Saturday and Sunday. I'm going to be meeting with a bunch of people there, and then we're doing an enduro ride on Monday in McCain Valley. So hit me up if you guys are in the area or know anybody in the area and you want to come ride. It's going to be fun. I'll answer this one real quick. Is the BRC engine, does it fit in a gas Husqvarna or only KTM? Well, this bike right here, guys, I don't know if you know this, Nissan, but KTM bought, they own Husqvarna and gas, and the frames are the same. So yes, you can bolt them in. As far as I know, I don't know what years, Riley, I'm sure you know, but whenever they acquired, gas and Husqvarna, you can bolt those motors in them.
Yeah, basically any of your Husqvarna or gas motorcycles that are powered with the same engine architecture as the KTM, the BRC will fit. And I also seen it's asked about, so what about the 23 and later frames? So the Gen 2 or the 17 and up KTM engines, 23 is a crazy year for KTM, because not only were they still producing the TPI model in the XCW, and the rest of the world calls it the EXC bikes, but they also introduced their new TBI bikes in the SX and XC versions. So yes, the BRC MY 17 to 23 will fit the 23 TPI motorcycles, but it won't work for the TBI, which I can actually, that'll be somebody else's next question I've had to answer a lot. Mm-hmm. When am I coming out with an engine for the TBI bikes? I got some bad news for all y'all brothers. KTM, in their ever refining execution of motorcycle design and engineering, the new bikes, we have a 23 300 XC in our shop, great bike. The fuel tank is basically right there with the standard 300cc size of cylinder. There is physically no room for the larger BRC cylinder in the new bike. What are we going to do about that? Now, I can get a fuel tank built very, very easily, and it actually won't cost our customers that much money. It'd be this similar price to, a Clark or a Cherby's tank. My issue is that my market is also global, and we don't use a boat to ship our products. We use FedEx. So the size of the kit coming across the ocean is going to double in size to already silly freight prices. And I'm very concerned if that would be the tipping point, is the freight cost getting these kits to our customers that would include a fuel tank that would fit their TBI motorcycles. So I'm not going to bump the R600 engine any further. We are fully focused on that. The BRC 500 balance shaft crankcase kit has been done and engineered. Tooling is being made for that now. We are engineering the R600 twin cylinder 2-stroke engine. After that is when I will be looking at potentially cracking that TBI nut. But I also kind of want to see how long KTM keeps the TBI platform the same, meaning the engine mount locations, the internal parts, the body work. Because again, you know, just like if KTM changes it every 2 years or 3 years like Honda, it's not economically viable for our company, and it'd be an irresponsible move.
That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, it's economics, right? I mean, at the end of the day, like it might not make any sense. Mike Keller asked a question, will BRC be offering any snowbike test rides? Yeah, give me a call, Mike. Come on up here to Kalispell, man, and we'll get you out on the freaking BRC. You know, that was something Riley and I talked about. I was like, yeah, if people are wanting, it's like, we got the newest ready to go setup, man. We got the lodge. We got everything up here, guys, by the way. So yeah, if you guys want to come ride all the bikes, hit us up, Snowbike Nation. Obviously, you know, that's what we do. This is a good question here. Mike Keller also asked, how did you get together with Huga Performance?
That was pretty awesome story. And again, I might be long-winded, so hang on, boys. I'll try to make this as few words as possible.
I'm gonna go pee while Riley's telling his story. So
you need to tell a story for a while, so I can go have a pee. Anyways, so Huga Performance. Yeah, this story just makes me smile. So the owner of Huga Performance, his name is Steve Lumberding. And Steve Lumberding, I guess we're introduced probably about 5-6 years ago, maybe longer now. Time is flying. And one of our Gen 1 customers, or MY 07 to 16 kit customers in Northern Alberta, was having Steve assemble his engine for him. And so the Steve guy calls me up and says, hey, I'm building so-and-so's engine, and I also built 2-stroke expansion chambers, to which I kind of chuckled. Like, and no disrespect to him, but in my former life of kart racing and Grand Prix motorcycle stuff is, you know, I've been fortunate enough to truly work with the best of the best of the best of 2-stroke exhaust manufacturers on the planet. Aprilia, Elto, HRC, Jaha, you know, these guys, this is from a road racing area and a karting thing. These guys know, they know the black art, the black science, you know, it's a mystic thing, 2-stroke expansion chambers. How is this guy from, you know, north of me in Alberta, so you're starting to get into some, you know, into the sticks up there a little bit. How is this guy going to ever build a pipe that is going to be any good? I had no faith in him, to be honest, and that sucks. Yeah. It really does. But it's only because I've been jaded, because I've had 30 years of working with people that supposedly knew what they're doing, and lots of times they'd fuck up too. But anyways, pardon my French. So anyways, so this guy, he calls me up. I'm building so-and-so's engine. I need all the dimensions of your engine so I can calculate what pipe, how to build this guy's pipe. And when I'm talking about dimensions, I'm talking about every port angle, roof angle, side angle, volume, crankcase volume, head volume, port duct, transfer port duct volume.
This is Steve. This is Steve telling you.
This is Steve. He's asking for the world. And so my design engineer, Steve Buffel, who works very, very hard, and, you know, everything that is designed at BRC is not me. Okay. I am not the guy. I'm the idiot with the idea. I've got very skilled people that work for me. Okay. And I don't even want to say his name because I don't want him to get poached by a manufacturer that can actually pay him what he's worth. I love you, Steve.
Right.
No, it's true stories. And that's Steve Buffel I'm talking about. Absolute genius. And BRC would be nowhere without him. I'm going to say that right now. Steve Buffel, we'd be nowhere without you.
It's awesome.
And your brilliance. Truly is. Anyways, so then we meet this other Steve. It must be something about Steve's. So I convinced my design engineer, Steve Buffle, to send all of this critical, proprietary data to Steve Lumberding, who is not Huga Performance yet, by the way. He's just Steve Lumberding, from Northern Alberta. And Buffle says to me, he goes, man, you're giving away everything. You're just giving it away. He said, dude, you got a good feeling about this guy. And he's like, yeah, sure. You got a good feeling about everybody. Your cup's half full. And I'm like, that's about the only way I can get through life is try to keep a cup half full. It's better than half empty. Anyway,
right.
So I basically command Steve Buffle to send him all the information. It takes about 2 days to comprise. And, at an engineering wage is, cost me some money to do that. Had a good feeling. Anyways, give it to him. About 6 months goes by. I don't hear from the guy. In fact, because I'm such a scatterbrain at times.
6 months?
Oh, building the two-stroke pipe, you don't snap your fingers and do it. Okay. Especially when you do it well.
No, it's just
you do it well.
Wild.
Well, okay. But anyways, 6 months go by and my scatterbrain bird brain forgets about everything. And I get a phone call from this guy, Steve Lumberding. He says, hey, how you doing? I built 3 exhausts for your BRC 500. I'm wondering if I can come down to your dyno and test them. And lo and behold, as word would have it, the design criteria for the Gen 1 engine was to make 60 plus horsepower and 50 plus foot-pounds of torque. The day prior to this phone call, we had achieved that. We achieved, I think, 63 or 64 horse and 52, 53 foot-pounds of torque. And so we're high-fiving each other. Oh, God, we're so good. Wow, look at us. We're amazing. This is awesome. We're amazing. And so this guy says, so we already had an engine on the dyno. We just done all the testing. We're there. And he calls and says he's got 3 pipes. And I'm like, sure, bring them down. It's easy for me. Engine's already on the dyno. I'm set up to go. So he shows up the next morning with his 3 pipes. And I look at these things. The first thing I look at them, they're straight pipes, okay, just for dyno testing, straight. And I looked at this.
What do you mean? What do you mean straight pipes?
So this was on my engine dyno. So it's just an engine on the dyno. So it's not in a bike. And so there's an expansion chamber that goes up and down, but they didn't curve around the chassis and wiggle out the back of the bike. Okay. They're straight. Okay. Just for testing to see which of his designs was the one to then spend all the extra effort to make it bend around the chassis. Okay.
So you mean to get the initial power, you can do a straight design, but that changes once you start bending it and stuff, right?
Not if you're good at what you do.
Really?
There's a big difference there. Because a 2-stroke pipe.
I did not know that.
A 2-stroke pipe is no different than a saxophone, except for it's got a convergent cone to it that a saxophone doesn't. Okay. Saxophones only have divergent cones. So this is how, there you go. This is how a 2-stroke
saxophone.
There you go. That's trumpet player. There you go. Anyways, so your 2-stroke pipe is all about acoustics, all right, and length and volumes and the way it dissipates the energy out of the cylinder and the way it brings it back into the cylinder. We won't get into that. We don't have enough time, and we're going to lose the 38 people that we have left on here. Anyways, so Steve Lumberding comes down the next morning. We're pretty high on the hog with our egos at this point because we crushed our design criteria of 60 and 50. See these pipes, and the first thing that strikes me is that's some good quality craftsmanship right there. And keep in mind, I've worked with the best in the planet. Okay.
Yeah.
At the highest level. I've been lucky enough to be a fly on their wall. I've seen, and this looks pretty good. Cool. So keep in mind, the numbers that we made was 60.
You're like, who the hell's this dude that's up here in Canada by me I've never heard of? It's building.
No, exactly, right? Like, what an asshole keeping himself secret for I could have used 20 years ago. Anyways, he's not an asshole. And so, we're high in the hog, our egos are thriving. Anyways, let's see what this guy has built. We made 63 horsepower and 53 foot-pounds with what we did first, right? This is what we're all excited about. His first pipe that we put on throws up 70 horse. What?
Blew your pipe away. Pipe away.
Bye. Okay. Which I have to say that pipe, the initial pipe, is still what we offer today on our Gen 2 kit. It's been refined. And who's been refining it? Huga Performance. Huga Performance builds all of our stamp pipes with other really well-known exhaust pipe manufacturers' raw stampings. And I can't get into mentioning their name anymore because they haven't actually treated us that well over the years. So I'm not going to give them any more love. It's gotten to us where we are today, and now we got some other stuff in the works. Anyways, that's enough of that. His first pipe throws up 70 horse. Are you kidding me? The dyno has to be wrong. Look at all the parameters of the dyno, make sure everything's right. I'm in the right, that's all right. Do the same run. It repeats, 70 horse. Huh. Looks like you got a winner there, bud. Well, he goes, let's try the next one. Okay. And it's really easy to take them on and off really quick. So these runs were done literally within minutes of each other, which is kind of important when you're dyno testing. So nothing changes. His next pipe throws up 73 horsepower. I look over at my Steve Buffalo and I'm confused. I got confusion all over my face because he's been with me every step of the way for the last 25 years. And he goes, this is not right. And he's starting to feel it too. And then
what's going on here?
He's lumbering. He's like, okay, well, let's throw on my other pipe. 75 horsepower. 63 foot-pounds of torque. When I think of that day, my jaw is still on the floor. It's impossible for a person in my backyard that has not had any formal training. He's a motocrosser to do this. It makes no sense at all. So then that's when, because he was working at, I think, a Caterpillar shop as a shop foreman. And he made the decision about a year after that. So we're like, okay, man, we're going to help you out and you're going to help us out. And so I'm going to plug your pipes on our stuff. And I'm not going to inventory them though. Because I said that to him straight out. I'm not going to inventory them because if I do that, I need a discount. And you don't need that. That's not going to help you. You need to make your retail price to stay in business. And so I know that I got somebody when I come up with a new design that can work with me and do your awesomeness. Okay. And so that's what I said to him. I said, I can't do it. I don't want a discount. I'm not going to inventory, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to let people, if they want a Huga pipe, is fine. Is if you don't want the stock stamp pipe that Huga does put together, okay, that does make about 67 horse. If you don't want that, I'll give you a credit on your BRC build kit because that's included in your price. And then you go to Huga directly and you get his cone pipe and he will send it to me because we're close and I'll put it in your engine kit box. So there's only one piece of freight going across to your country. Mm-hmm. So it's really been awesome to work with Huga, to see his story, to see him progress. He's an absolute craftsman. His stuff is great. It makes great power.
So how did and I need to probably get Steve on here, and I've talked to Steve. He's a solid freaking dude. So how did he get into building these? Like, how did he just magically come up with this? I mean, what's his story on that?
So he's been a two-stroke guy all his life. He's been a motocrosser. He's built engines. He's ported stuff. He's cut heads. And he knew, and as any two-stroke engine,
just for fun.
Well, for his own stuff, and probably for buddies. And this is how the guy that was building his BRC engine was having Steve Lumberding assemble it for him. And so during that assembly process, he wanted to also have a cone pipe built. And so that's when Steve Lumberding decided, okay, I'm going to tackle this. And so he gets some two-stroke software. He gets some books. He starts to read, and get the knowledge that he didn't have. He already had a lot of knowledge, about two-strokes and what they required. But the way that he was able to put all those pieces of the two-stroke tuning puzzle together, and in literally his first cracks at building pipes, to do what he did, that hasn't been done to my knowledge. That has not been done before. Not been done before.
That's wild.
So anyways, he left his job at being a foreman, and then Huga Performance basically has been built. And this is what he does. He builds beautiful two-stroke cone pipes, not just for BRC. You know, he does them for YZ, KX, RM 250s. I think he's done some 125 stuff. And he does them for the CR 500s, as you can see there. And his pipes, I believe, in the CR 500 crowd are regarded as the best that there's ever been. So
That's
hats
wild.
off to Steve Lumberding, Huga Performance. I'm happy that I've been a part of his story, but make no mistake, he has built this on his own and his own merits. We gave him an excuse one day, but he's done this, you know.
That's freaking incredible, man. So he makes the stamp pipe for you guys. He makes
The
a
stampings come
woods.
from a major manufacturer in the two
Right.
halves with the nibble marks on them and all unfinished ends. He has to weld them together and then cut them apart into about 6 different sections with a special cut jig that he had to do. And then he has a weld jig that puts them together. And it's the same stamping that is used on the Gen 1 kit, the Gen 2 kit, and the YZM kit. And if you ever see, it's not on his website, it'll be on mine, I think, how the stamped pipe wraps around the YZM 500, it is unbelievable how good of a job he did. In fact,
Yes.
so much so that major U.S. manufacturer looked at that and said, wow, how can we not supply you stampings when that's what you did with them? They were wowed. And let me tell you, about that manufacturer, everybody knows their name.
Yeah. It's everybody knows who they are.
Yes.
That's insane, dude. Well, freaking good for Steve, man. Like, what a stud. Yeah, he's a solid dude. I mean,
Yep.
And so Riley, and I saw this question, I think earlier, stock, like on my bike right now, what is that pushing horsepower and torque wise?
With the stamp, but the biggest difference in the power and output is the difference between our stock stamp pipe, which will produce about 67 horsepower, 67, 68, somewhere in there.
Okay.
Personally, that's what I ride with it on dirt. I ride the stamp pipe on dirt. It's got more than enough grunt. The stamp pipe, it does produce a little bit more bottom end power sooner, and it does over rev a little bit more longer. So it's got that flexibility that I like for the woods riding. Not to say that the Huga stuff isn't, but it's just like, I don't know about you guys, but it's 2 wheels and I fall over lots. And when I fall over and dent up my Huga pipe, I kind of cry.
Yeah,
and
mine's like super dented up, like my stock one.
yeah, those blow out easy though. And I'll tell you this: is stamp pipes blow out way easier than the cone pipes. Cone pipes are massively stronger. You can still dent them, and then you can still blow them out. It just takes a little bit more force and pressure. But yeah, both have been great. So
that makes sense.
So I kind of recommend it if you're gonna dual purpose your bike, say like Kevin on his YZM. I say get the Huga Snowbike pipe for your snowbike build because you don't generally hit much stuff on your snowbike, and then get the stock stamp pipe for your moto build, and enjoy it. And yeah, the big where the Huga pipes really shine is definitely in the mid range. They really make that mid range really strong. You can really feel it. They're worth they're not cheap, and they're worth every penny. So
yeah, they do. They kill it. Mike Keller, Huga Performance, is the absolute best in customer service. So sounds like Mike's been dealing with him as well. Jay Kell says, so I need to buy one of those pipes. Yep. Get on their website.
What's your application, Jay Kell? Like again, for dirt, sure, get a Huga, but you're going to be happy with the stamp pipe. You building the snow bike? Well, nobody builds a snow bike to save money. So if you're doing it, and you're putting a BRC kit under it, you know, you might as well put a Huga under it and have the most bang for your buck. So,
Yeah. Like Matt Hoffia says, sexiest pipe out there, right? It's freaking badass looking, no doubt.
Gorgeous. Like Scalvini's unreal too, you know. But
yeah.
Not only does the Huga pipe look good, it performs every bit as good as it looks. Nailed it.
Nailed it. What's this? How's MRE helped with the BRC development? What is that?
MRE, you've heard me mention his name, Adam Miller, and that's Millar. Adam is Miller Racing Engines. Well, actually, it's a generational family story. Adam's part of that business. Well, he helps out all facets of the business. His father does anything from tractor pull.
What's the name of the company?
MRE, Miller Racing Engines. I don't even know if they have a website.
Oh,
to be honest.
Wow.
They're in Winkler, Manitoba, which is right on the border of North Dakota. Another cool bunch of Canadians, huh? You know, a lot of
dude. Yeah, what's the deal? You guys like got this on lockdown up there, man. Is this them? Not Moran Racing?
No, Miller, Millar.
Huh.
But
MILAR.
Yeah, Adam is super active on Facebook, especially on the CR500 forums and whatnot. That's their logo. So Adam, in my opinion, again, just my opinion, has forgotten more about CR500s than the rest of the world knows combined. Adam is the guru. No, he really is. And super nice guy, extremely knowledgeable. But this is, what they're his father, I believe, started the business. His father still works there as well. And Adam.
Yeah, there's like nothing on here even about the CR.
No, there won't be. Hit up Adam Miller on Facebook. And, the guy is just, aside from being extremely genuine and nice, he's massively knowledgeable and helpful. I was introduced to him when we did our CR500 AF bike build that led to all this craziness that we're doing with KTM and Yamaha motorcycles. Anyways, he's again another friend. All these guys have become my friend. I think the world of them, and they're very skilled individuals and very high quality individuals too. So, yep. Awesome.
So he's been kind of instrumental in a lot of that.
He's my go-to guy when I want to bounce a big bore question off of,
Interesting.
He educates me all the time and, is very gracious about it too. So,
Matt Hoffius, every part of my BRC kit has exceeded my expectations. Hell yeah.
Too kind, man. It's like,
where's Matt? Where's Matt out of?
Matt's got to chime in. I can't remember. We've somebody asked how many BRCs have we sold, I think. And, in the early days, it was pretty easy to not only remember everybody's name, but, I could damn near remember their phone numbers. I guess some good things about growth is the fact that I can't do that anymore. And so I'm sorry that personalized part is kind of going away. So I can't remember everybody's stories and whatnot and what they built and their applications. We sell currently about 150 engines a year, and it's been growing. Every year it grows a little bit, and every time that we add a new product to the line card, it grows a little bit more. So yeah, it's so we're still small. That might be impressive to some, but it's still small. We're a small outfit. And quite frankly, we've had the discussions internally and we intend to keep it small. Keep control.
There's something to be said. There's something to be said for that, man. Especially, I mean, and you, I'm sure can very well speak to this, Riley. I feel like the older I get too, and the older people, we all get, it's like, I would much rather just be doing what I love and, I want to pay the bills and whatever and, take a vacation here too, but I'm not trying to get rich. I'm trying to just freaking live life to the fullest and take people out and, do what we love, man.
Build smiles, bro.
That's right. Build smiles.
Chasing the dollar, like my younger years, course, we're all about
Yep.
that. And it didn't bring me happiness. And I had some pretty neat cars and motorcycles in my day. And I thought that was going to bring me happiness, and it was going to be good for my ego. And what it taught me is that even though I was doing well, I didn't have enough money. You know, I had a pretty nice Porsche, and you know, oh, there's a cloud in the sky, it's going to hail. I can't drive the Porsche. I want to take my wife out for dinner and a movie. Oh, I don't want to park it in the busy parking lot, you know. And what that taught me, even though that, you know, I did well, I didn't have enough money to own that because I couldn't just forget about it. And ultimately, I didn't drive it very much. And I had another sports car just to hammer this point home to myself. And I'm so grateful that I did that in my early 40s, because I have no desire anymore to do that. And it's just, I would rather put my efforts and if I do have some extra income, and people have talked on this podcast and asked questions about the R600. The R600 is one of my passions, a Grand Prix motorcycle. And I would rather put my own money back into the company and develop that R600 than have any vehicle that I could dick swing on the boulevard to my buddies. I'm over it, man. I really am. And it's just like, I want to build smiles, and I want to feel that emotion and passion and you know,
Amen.
convey that to others, you know. So
Amen.
That's what BRC is all about. We're going to stay a small company. We're going to hopefully keep doing some unique things in the space that we've carved out for ourselves. I'm going to try to continue to you know, be one-on-one with my customers for as long as I can. I will add staff when my current staff can't do their jobs in a pleasant manner for them, is when I'll add staff. It's very important to me that they are respected and feel respected, because I couldn't do this. Like, I just have stupid ideas, and I've been lucky enough to fill myself with people around me that can execute these dumbass ideas. And then I got great customers that, you know, send me money, and we get to deliver them a happy box, and it just keeps on rolling.
Happy box.
You know, it's like,
that's great.
It's kind of cool, but that's who we
great,
are,
man.
Stay, man. So,
well, dude, that's great. Like Jeremy said, I like his comment. All this two-stroke talk makes me want one. Well, I hope so, dude. That's what this is all about, man. And Jeremy, like, yeah, dude, get up here to Kalispell and hop on one of these things, because it is so fun. And I know I've seen you, Jeremy. You snowbike, obviously, and have been doing it for a while. So that's it, man. Like, Riley is in the business for smiles. I'm right there with you. I think that's probably why Riley and I get along so well too, is just like, we want people to get out and experience this and have fun, and just, you know, like, I look at really what I'm doing, you know, not to get religious by any means, but like, I look at this as like my ministry. And I tell people, I'm like, you know, we go out, man, it's like dirt church, snow church. Like, we're out there just freaking enjoying the nature and mountains together, and like, look at this beautiful area. And it's just great. It's great, dude.
totally.
Love it.
You know, building smiles, building relationships. The flat out building a snow bike is fun. You know, you got all these different choices of kits out there. They all do different things. You've got innovations happening all the time. You know, you've got guys like Alan Mangum that has invented, you know, Alan was instrumental by putting together.
By the way, Alan commented and said he's still here.
Well, I feel sorry for you, Alan. Don't you have anything better to do? You know, but
he's probably just working away, got it on the background while they're building kits.
You know, but look at what he's done, and you know, you don't have to love timber sled, you don't have to love mountaintop. Look at what he's done. Is he went and he built the market for himself. He figured out a way to actually industrialize it in a way that he could provide for himself and then his family. And then he grew it, and then he hired a bunch of people to work for him, and he built it up. And I know for a fact he put every dollar he could back into that company to build it up and build it up. And lo and behold, he gets a a behemoth that, this is where I get pissed off, Alan. It's a behemoth. After he and I shake hands on being first to snow
Yeah.
with the world's, power to weight of a mountain sled and first to snow on a purpose-built snow bike. And I get done my end of that because I did the engine part. He's supposed to do the fab part. I get done my end of that. Fucking Polaris. Anyways, Polaris. So
Hey, man, good things are going to come of it.
So right at that time, and I'm done my part. And what's cool about the engine that we built a V-twin 600cc engine. And Alan and I's design criteria is to make 120 horsepower out of that engine, naturally aspirated. That's why it's 2 cylinders. And it would have the same power to weight as a mountain sled. And the first 20 minutes, and it also had to be as narrow as a 450 single. That was one of Alan's criteria, which I agree with totally. And within the first 20 minutes of that engine's life, it made 120 horsepower. And I was stoked. And I get on the phone and I'm trying to get a hold of Alan. Alan's too busy to take my call. And I didn't know why he was too busy to take my call. And after some time passed between us, and I was frustrated. I was. He had the time to call me back, and he kind of beat it around the bush a little bit. And hopefully Alan's recollection of this is the same as mine.
We need to get everybody on the call so everybody can.
Anyways, and he's kind of humming and hawing on the phone. I'm like, Alan, what's up? I'm a big boy. Like, obviously something's gone on. What happened? And well, we just got bought by Polaris. And I'm like, holy shit, that's awesome. Good for you, man. That's like every small guy's dream and utopia is to get taken out by a big guy, right? And so I was super stoked for Alan. But, because I did things the way I did, which was, I didn't use a formal contract and Alan didn't foresee this happening. I don't think either, it's not his fault. And, that's how it went. And so from there, we decided to take the idea and concept that I had for the engine and powertrain. And then we ended up getting a patent on it and taking it a little bit further with our CVT bike and design. And that's where that rests. But it was really the partnership with Alan and Timbersled that drove us to building the CVT bike that we have today that works so well. So, and I was so super stoked for Alan and his family, because I know he deserves it. He put everything into it. I know that he worked for Timbersled for a bit after in Polaris. And then to see him reinvent himself as Mountaintop and bringing more innovation his way to the mountain is super cool to see and see him execute it. So hats off to Alan for doing that. And like the guys at C3, Kevin Forsyth and Jamie Hodgson, that's quite a story too. And those are the guys and Mark Hoffman. I haven't had any business interactions with Mark, but he's been there too. These guys are the mainstays of our sport that we love. And you don't have to love all of them, and you don't have to buy every one of their kits, but endorse these guys and speak highly of them, because without them, snowbiking today is nowhere. You don't have to like their kits, but without them, those guys, the snowbikes are nowhere, and we can't do it. So, hats off to Mountaintop and Timbersled and C3 and Yeti and CMX. And I'm sorry if I'm forgetting guys, Kyle, chime in there, but truly those guys are giving us the platforms and the reason to build BRC 500 two-strokes. Without their track kits, there would have been no reason. There would have been no reason to do a CVT bike. Those guys gave us the reason. So hats off to you guys.
Well, and guys like you, Riley, and I mean, really, I think anybody would say in this whole industry is it's everybody now working together and pushing the industry forward is what's going to help it grow into what it'll be eventually, you know. And at some point the bigger guys, or who knows how that's all going to play out, but I have no doubt that your motor is going to go down in history as one of the greats, and I'm sure something's going to come of it. That's for damn sure.
It's a good option. As we're talking about the current BRC, it's a good option. And like we started this conversation and podcast with, is I'm not here to tell everybody that it's the be all end all, you know. And like you identified, if you're a two-stroke guy, you're probably really going to enjoy it, you know. But I'm not here to say you have to have one and your stuff sucks. No, it doesn't. Anybody that's out there on the snow ripping with whatever track kit, whatever power plant, keep doing it. Keep having fun. Keep doing your home engineering, figuring out what works for you and your build and your bike, you know, to come back home safely and reliably every time. This is what pushes the sport further forward. I'm just grateful that our engine kits have been endorsed by motocrossers, off-road woods riders, super motard guys, Snowbikes, obviously, of course, you know, but just go and enjoy your builds and go and enjoy your rides and keep learning, keep pushing, and keep trying, you know. And if you like two strokes, well, if you can do it, you know, you're probably going to dig a BRC. That's it.
Yes, you will. If you like two strokes, you definitely will. We'll love the BRC 500. We'll probably wrap up here in a minute. A couple ending things. Jeremy said, Alan, thanks for making the most fun thing ever become a reality. I've done a whole bunch of fun things in my life, but snow bikes are the absolute number one. And I would agree. And I think a lot of people are on that same page. I can't tell you how many times, you know, and part of some of the videos we're getting ready to launch are, I tell people, I go, there's not often you take grown men, I mean, you're talking 40 to 60-year-olds and plus. I take these guys out, oh yeah, we're snowbiking, we're gonna do this thing. And I take them to one of like their first hill climb. You know, I take them in, oh yeah, we're gonna go up here, we're gonna do this, guys, follow me. And they're just looking at me like, how the hell are we gonna do this? You know, I was like, I promise, just follow me, right? And we get up there and they're like, oh my gosh, this is the fucking coolest thing I've ever done in my life, dude. You know, they're just losing their minds. They're like a little kid. And it's like, I think that's it, right? It's like we get out there and we get to feel like just little kids again. We're just out playing in the snow, having fun with our buddies, exploring, you know, the mountains in a way that most people have never even imagined. So, you know, guys like you, Riley, everybody in this whole industry, man, it's awesome. I love what's happening with it and where it's screaming like little girls. Yeah, that's it. That's what Jeremy says. Screaming like little girls. Very, very true, man. Well, one more thing, or you have anything to add there, Riley?
Well, what, screaming like little girls? You know,
no, just, you know, in terms of it being the most fun thing ever. You've done a lot of fun shit too, man.
Oh, it's for me, there's nothing like being in the backcountry. You know, the Rocky Mountains, our Canadian Rockies are spectacular. I used to sled, and unfortunately, I didn't have the drawers for sledding. I was always afraid of Mother Nature more than I enjoyed it. And if snowbiking hadn't been invented, I probably wouldn't be back in the backcountry. That's just me. I was too intimidated by getting the most out of a sled and what I had to risk to get that reward. Seeing that I'd driven and ridden so many things in my life and raced and whatnot, that, you know, how many times do I want to push it? And then snowbiking comes on, and it brought me back to the backcountry. And, you know, I'm not a religious person per se, but it's a very Zen feeling being out there. And when I can mix the backcountry with my other passion of being two-stroke brapping and smelling of premix, it doesn't get a lot better than that. You know, if I convince my wife to come out with me, I think that would be my nirvana, you know? So,
yeah.
So far she's happy just to stay at home and be warm. But anyway, I've just, it's to those inventors out there, keep doing your thing, keep inventing, keep trying, you know, and
Agreed.
do what you can with what you got.
There you
Yeah.
go. That's what I tell everybody when they get into snow biking too. You know, oh, I got to have this, that, and the other thing. It's like, dude, look, just get into it as cheap as you can. If that's all you can do, man, just get into it, have fun, and it's only going to evolve from there, dude. I think this is a good place to end it. Grant Beatty, he said he just finished his YZM build, had amazing support from Riley throughout the project. Best bike he's ever owned. Thanks. There you go.
Hey, Snowbike Nation's reach. Do you know where Grant is from?
Where is he?
South Africa.
What?
Yes.
He built this isn't a snow bike though, right? This is just a dirt bike.
Much snow where he's at, but it's a dirt bike. Yeah.
I didn't think so. Wow. That's awesome. You
got guys in here that have been on here from Australia, of course, over the States.
That's so cool. Yeah.
You know, totally blessed with the people that I've been able to interact with and do business with all over the globe. In fact, our very first Gen 1 engine kit sale went to a super cool guy. And you'll never, of all the countries in the world, I guess this would be a stupid thing to ask, but guess where he's from. You'll never guess.
Wait,
Romania. My very first
Romania?
And super cool guy. You know, we talk to this day. He actually owns a couple of them now.
That's wild.
You know, it's just, how cool is that? You know?
That is wild, dude. So Riley, when did you first, when was the first one shipped?
Oh, I want to say 2015, maybe.
Okay.
I don't know. It's been a whirlwind. There's been a lot of life happening from 2015 to 2023. Yeah. A lot of life.
Well, dude, I was looking at it the other day. I was like, wow, I can't believe Riley and I talked 5 years ago. It felt like freaking
yesterday.
It's just yesterday, dude. Well, dude, this has been fun, like always fun. Any parting words, Riley, that you want to leave and leave with the crowd of people watching this?
No, as everybody's gathered by this point, I don't know when to shut up. You know, everybody go have a great snowbiking winter. If snowbiking is your thing, go get the most out of what you're riding. Have fun and enjoy it. If you're a two-stroke enthusiast, I hope that you can give BRC Racing a chance, either just to answer questions in an email or a phone call, or possibility of purchasing one of our kits. And let's just go have fun, make smiles, and maybe post some kick-ass videos of us doing what we enjoy and what floats our boat, you know? So
hell yeah.
Be good, be kind, be good, and keep pushing.
And I forgot, I should have started it off with this, but everybody who's still watching, go to the website, put your name and info on there, because I'm going to be doing a giveaway for going up to Canada to do our snowbike ride here in December. And well, you better believe you'll get the chance to ride the BRC 500, because this year I've already committed. Like, even on dirt, I've been riding it every chance I get, and every ride probably I'm gonna have this winter, I will be on that bike along with all the other bikes, because I just want to ride it. So yeah, thanks again, Riley. Glad we were able to do this, man.
No, thank you, Kyle, and thanks for everybody for taking the time to listen to me blab. So
it's been fun, man. All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate all you guys staying involved, asking questions, and we appreciate all your support. And yeah, take care, guys. We'll see you later. Have fun, shred hard, and be safe.